are now in the arena. Welcome to Gridiron, presented by Underdog. Woo woo.
That's the only thing I thought.
You guys missed it, but before the show, the boys are debating if it's woof woof or whoop whoop. I think it's supposed to be woof whoop. It's Underdog.
I got it right today. I read the teleprompter. Woof woof.
Woof woof.
But anyway, guys, it is Monday after the NFL draft, so you know we have a ton to talk about. My name is Kinsey. I am your host, and sitting next to me is one of the most prolific figures in the history of sports media and the man who has never lost a debate, Skip Bayless. We got Super Bowl champion, 5-time Pro Bowler, and 2-time All-Pro cornerback, Aqib Talib. We got All-Pro, 6-time Pro Bowl defensive tackle, one of the most disruptive D tackles of his generation, Gerald McCoy. Gerald, you got a little audience today. He was smiling so big when we just introduced you.
Hey, we got Jonathan Hankins in the background.
Yeah, we do.
It was so supportive. I did your introduction. He was smiling all excited. The king of quarterback breakdowns and top 5 passer in the history of USC Trojans, Cody Kessler.
Hello, Cody.
So, Aqib, did the Broncos have any draft picks? I don't even think they participate?
We really had a sneaky good draft.
They had a sneaky good. They snuck right by me. I didn't even notice.
Took a nap.
We drafted Jalen Waddle in the first round.
Oh.
See that? You
And
see
you
that?
could have had Denzel Boston in the first round
Yeah, we
if
ain't
you
want
just
him.
stayed there, right?
Right?
Wow.
You want him? You're like,
We good. Our receiver room is crazy.
Y'all
We don't need him.
are good.
all right.
We don't need him.
I would have been fine if the Niners got him, but it's fine. Didn't work out that way. All right, you guys, here's what we're going to talk about today. The Browns loaded up on offense in the draft, and how is this going to impact Shedeur Sanders? And then can the Cowboys actually contend in the NFC next season? Because Jerry Jones thinks so. We're going to get to that. And then the Raiders and the Chiefs landed some big names in the draft. Should the Broncos be worried defending their title this season? But as always, you guys, this episode is presented by Underdog. Underdog's available in most states, including Texas, Florida, and California. New customers get $50 in bonus entries when they play just $5 to get started. Just use code GRID when you sign up, and it's going to load instantly. Underdog, make picks, win money with code GRID. So, first thing that we're going to get into, which I know you're excited about talking about this man. He's your favorite man on the earth. The Eagles drafted wide receiver McCoy Lemon, and he did an interview with Bleacher Report, and Micah Parsons was a part of the interview. And Micah is catching some heat for what he had to say. I want to play this right here.
To really get it home, to call Philly, especially a great organization, I couldn't be even, more happy. So I'm excited, man.
Oh, I love everything about him already. Micah, what do you think?
Hey, bro, congratulations, bro. Hey, you had me everything but the greatest organization, bro. I was trying to hold it, bro. I was really trying to hold it.
Mackay's face. Skip, how do you feel about this?
I got to put my seatbelt on for this one.
Buckle up.
This early, Skip?
Yeah.
God damn.
Topic 1.
This just hit me the wrong way. But Micah often hits me the wrong way.
Yeah.
And I don't think I've ever agreed with one thing Le'Veon Bell has ever said in his life, but I did agree with what he called this lame, and to me, low, because if you step back and look at this, McCoy Lemon agrees to come on this podcast, and this is the night of his life. Mm-hmm. He's excited, understandably excited, enthusiastic, just spilling over, because he just got picked by the perfect team for him at the perfect time and in the perfect town, because Eagles fans are going to love this kid because he is a dog and a baller. Mm-hmm. And he fits who they are and what they need and what they are going to do. And Micah Parsons actually sits back and laughs at this poor kid just trying to be nice in the interview. And he hasn't done a lot of interviews in his life, and he's not great at it, so he's doing the best he can. He laughs at him for calling the Eagles the greatest organization when he didn't say greatest. He just said they're a great organization. Well, doesn't every kid that gets drafted by every team say it's a great organization? And by the way, do the Eagles not have the best general manager in all of football? So doesn't that maybe qualify as the greatest organization? And just for the record, Mike has now played for the Dallas Cowboys, and let's see, the Eagles have been to 4 Super Bowls since the Cowboys went to 1, and he's now a Green Bay Packer, and the Eagles have been to 3 Super Bowls since the Packers went to a Super Bowl. And if in the end I can psychoanalyze this, I wonder if this still eats at Micah's psyche, that remember on his draft night, what happened? The Eagles actually traded up from 12 to 10 with the Dallas Cowboys, traded from 12 to 10. And did they take Micah Parsons, who's still sitting there? No, they took Devontae Smith and left Micah, who got passed over again, until the Cowboys took him at 12. Does that still eat at him? Did he feel like he had to put this kid in his place because he's still a little bitter at the Eagles, maybe a little jealous that this kid got picked by the Eagles, who actually traded up 3 spots to take him and steal him in the first round? Your guess is as good as mine. But Micah had to say, I'm Micah Parsons' kid and you're not. It's almost like he's going to give him a little rookie hazing on opening night. Way to go, Micah. Congratulations.
Can I add a little context to what's going on?
Go
First
ahead,
and
G.
foremost, I know Micah personally, and if you know Micah personally and you ever been around him, Micah's a great dude. Micah just loves to have a good time. He's a great guy. He used to be at the Mavs games. He's not as, you see him at the Pro Bowl and he was on the scooter and all that. Yeah. He's just an energy bug. He loves to have a good time. But when you see him, he's not. Because when you see him behind the scenes, he stands in the corner, don't do a lot of talking. He's not real flashy or nothing like that. He always pays homage to people who came before him. The first time I met Micah, he was nothing but singing my praises of, man, this and this and this. And Micah was already Micah at the time when we first met. But anytime you see him interact with anybody, even if you go look at all the other interviews from all the other draft picks, he was giving out advice. He was, do this, go be yourself, whatever. But let's add some context to the clip that they clipped of what happened. Let me tell you what really happened. Yeah. So Adam Lefkoe is from Philadelphia. He's the host. Adam Lefkoe, when he introduced McCoy, he said, this is the greatest organization. The kid didn't say it. And if you look at Micah's eyes.
He said great.
He said great, but Adam Lefkoe, who's from Philly, he's an Eagles fan, said the greatest organization. That's why when Micah looked, if you look at his eye line, he looked to the left where Lefkoe was at and said, you lost me when you said the greatest, because he wasn't talking to the kid. He was talking to Adam. So when they clipped it and it made it seem like Michael was talking to this kid or tearing him down, he wasn't even talking to him. He was talking to Adam Lefkoe. But let's say he was. Okay, he doesn't play for Philly. And if he's thinking about the greatest organizations, who's the highest grossing organization in the world of all sports? Is it not the Dallas Cowboys?
Cowboys.
Okay, out of the big 5 of the NFL, Cowboys, 49ers, Raiders, Pittsburgh, and Green Bay. He's played for 2 of them. Is Philly in there? No. Those are the big 5 of the NFL historically.
Okay, but organization is your GM. Who's the best GM in football? Who's the best GM?
I mean, you.
It's Howie Roseman by far. Anybody disagree?
That's your opinion.
No, we'll disagree. Show me.
Howie Roseman. I mean, that's fine.
Okay.
But does that make you the best organization?
Yeah.
Where does he play? GM. Is that not called Titletown? It's called Titletown, right?
It used to be.
So he's playing for an organization. Yeah. In the Green Bay Packers, why am I going to sit here and gas up another organization? Okay. I think this is just another attempt to say Micah's doing this and Micah's doing that, and he's not.
Now
he
before
was
you guys
to
go,
the host.
I'm going to add a little more context. While Micah was still a Cowboy, 2 prominent leaders of the Dallas Cowboys blasted him for prioritizing his podcast over winning. Just for that's.
And that was and when was that? Yeah. When was that? He's not doing that now. It's the off season. Oh. He didn't do it all last year.
He was sitting on a podcast on draft night.
That was the off season. What's wrong with the off season? You can't talk football on podcasts in the off season? Yeah. I'm just saying, man, like he wasn't even talking to the kid. He was talking to the host. And then if you watch the interview, he did nothing but build the kid up. He said, you are in a great organization. Go listen to the people in the organization, learn from them, and go ball. You a baller, so just go ball. So, it got clipped and it made it look the way it looked, but Man, I ain't got no problem with what Micah did because he wasn't even talking to the kid.
Yeah.
But whether he was talking to the kid or whether he was talking to Adam, he really was just trolling the Eagles. You know what I'm saying? It was a little Cowboys. I'm a Cowboy at heart. You know how Mike is. He was just saying, like...
You don't think Micah wants to be an Eagle?
No, I don't think he want to be an Eagle. He just... If you like the Cowboys, you ever was a Cowboy, you just going...
Okay, but other context is Micah did grow up in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, about 100 miles from Philly, as an Eagle fan, just for the record. So go ahead.
But still, I don't think that matter. I grew up a Cowboys fan. Once I got to Denver, I was not a Cowboys fan no more. It's just, you lose your childhood team once a team...
Unless you play for them like I did.
Yeah, I'm saying? Once you sign that contract, that is now my new favorite team.
Right.
Yeah.
But I just think he was just trolling, man. It had nothing to do with the kid. He wasn't tearing down the kid or nothing. He just was trolling the Eagles. Like, hold on, Lefko. Or hold on, McCoy. I don't know about the best organization in the world. Like, he's just trolling. It was if you see the whole night, him and neighbors sat up there and had a great time, bro. It was lighthearted. They laughed a bunch. They gave their honest opinions on everything. And it was just a lighthearted podcast.
Was it not awkward for this kid, McCoy Lemon, who just got drafted?
McCoy Lemon is awkward, period.
I mean, it ain't even about it being awkward for him. I mean, this is our show. If we had our show and somebody came over here and they played for somebody and I trolled that organization a little bit and he felt awkward, this our show, fam. Like, shit, you might feel awkward. I do what I want to do on my show. That was their show. So he was having a good time. And he trolled the Eagles organization a little bit. So I don't think Lemon really, took offense to it or anything.
Yeah, and to take it a step further, the reason Adam said that too is because Malik Neighbors is also on the couch and he plays for the Giants. So he was trying to get a reaction out of all of them. And that's what Micah said afterwards, is I wasn't even responding to McCoy. I was responding to what Adam said. And I agree with that. I do think that's what happened because of Adam saying he plays now for the greatest organization in the NFL. But I agree a little bit, Skip. I do think it was an awkward and uncomfortable interview. And you're talking to a kid that just, accomplished his childhood dream of getting drafted to the NFL. I thought the interview could have been conducted a little bit better in that situation. There's a time and place to troll and joke around. You've got a guy who just got drafted there. I'd like to hear a little bit more from McCoy instead of having those guys joking around on the couch. But I do want to talk about McCoy Lemon a little bit because if you watch that clip back, he wasn't laughing, and he was very serious, and he was locked in, and that's the type of player that McCoy is. He is all business all the time, and I promise you, Philadelphia is getting a great player on and off the field. I covered USC football very closely for the last 3 years. I saw McCoy Lemon's entire career as a Trojan. There is not one person on that campus or inside that building at USC that has anything negative to say about McCoy Lemon as a player and as a person. And I want to put some of those narratives to bed because there's been a lot of criticism over his interviews, and a lot of people have been questioning his character
just
throughout
the one at
his
the
draft
combine
process.
was the one.
Yeah, well, there's been a couple of them. Every interview he's done, I saw someone say something about at the game the other night, hitting the bell and doing these different
Did you ever interview him at all on any?
I did not personally, but I watched a lot of his interviews,
Okay,
and I
go ahead.
interviewed Lincoln Riley every Monday.
Yeah, right.
And he talked very highly about McCoy Lemon. But McCoy Lemon worked his ass off to get to where he is today. Because remember, he came to USC in the same recruiting class as Zachariah Branch, who was a five-star,
did.
#1 wide receiver. Deuce Robinson, another five-star. Jacoby Lane, who just got drafted to Baltimore, was also in that class. And McCoy Lemon was really buried on the depth chart his freshman season
Well,
at USC.
he played corner for a little bit.
He had 6 catches his freshman year, and he even played a little bit of corner because USC had depth issues on that side of the ball. But that just is a testament to the team-first type of guy he is. He's the definition of a team-first guy instead of a me-first guy. And if you can get a lot of those guys on your roster, you can win a lot of games. But then going into 2024, he was a forgotten name in that wide receiver room. And even that season, gets hurt early on against Michigan, only has 13 catches for 150 yards halfway through that season. He didn't complain. He didn't change his attitude or his approach to the game. He kept working his ass off. And when he got those opportunities, the second half of that season, he took he made the most of them, and he became USC's leading receiver that year. And then we all saw what he did last season. He wins a Blitnikoff Award, and now he becomes a first-round draft pick in the NFL. So I just wanted to talk about McCoy a little bit and put some of those narratives to bed. I promise you, and I agree with what you said, Skip. He's a great competitive player. He's going to embody Philadelphia perfectly, and I think he's going to be a star in the NFL.
Well, regardless on what kind of person he is and if you want to do a serious interview and be like super serious, then maybe you should have took the Fox interview or the ESPN interview or the NFL. If you take a Bleacher Report interview with Parsons and Neighbors, then what the fuck is you expecting?
And Adam Lefkoe,
them are all jokesters, bro. What are we expecting?
But I don't think he obviously didn't know that going into the interview. And I'm not saying he took it personal, and I'm saying he hates those guys and it pissed him off. But in that situation right there, you just got drafted. You just accomplished your dream of making it to the NFL. I would have liked to hear a little bit more from him because I know Micah praised him and Malik praised him, but they didn't really ask him any questions. They just made comments and asked him about what number he's going to be.
How many interviews have you watched with McCoy Lemon? You watched a bunch of interviews. Is he a talker?
Yeah, if you get him going, he'll talk.
Is he that type of talker where you just said he was no nonsense. Yeah. So he just got drafted. Did you watch the rest of the interviews that they did
on their show? No.
All of them was like that. They was all short, quick, fun. Micah told Buddy that got drafted to the Giants, hey, I can't wait to play you. He said, you better hope I'm still on IR when we see y'all. Yeah. This is just the type of show they on. Yeah. I think people are putting too much, don't put too much into how people interview. That has nothing to do with when they go in that locker room and put them pads on. Because they step on that field, I ain't got to do no talking.
I'm not saying that, Gerald. My whole point, though, being, and that's why I wanted to defend McCoy Lemon, was I'm cool with that. I'm
talking about the people, not you. I'm talking about the people who have an issue with his interview. I said he's awkward because that's just his interview. I don't care about none of that.
Yeah.
What you gonna do when we step on this grass? We cross those white lines, what are you doing? Everybody's not built for the camera. Everybody don't do well with talking and all that. Forget all that. Can he play? And the kid can play. But so the narrative around his interviews, that's just the world talking. That's just give him something to talk about. Every year, somebody do something at the combine or say something at the combine that becomes clickbait, and everybody like, oh, did y'all see what this kid said or what this kid did or what? Last year was Shador. And his interview, it's always something. So when he did that, it was then he got to the draft and he was rocking back and forth and swaying and all that. That became a thing. Man, what happened when you turn the tape on? Yeah. And that's what matters. But in this instance, we putting way too much into it. He just got drafted and he's on a jokester podcast. That's just what they was telling jokes the whole night.
The whole night.
Then they going back, you gotta think, he just says the greatest organization and he's sitting next to a giant. You know what I'm saying? It's just.
I agree with that part. I think that I don't think he was doing it to disrespect McCoy. He was responding to Adam, who was the host. I'm fine with that. My comment was more so around the narrative with McCoy Lemon and the way that he's been perceived throughout this entire pre-draft process.
Okay, the biggest negativity I saw was off his combine interview, not with teams, but with the media there. And he's swaying back and forth. I just don't think he got interviewed a lot at USC. And then he apologized after and said, I just don't know how to do it. But his answers are as real as you can get. Because he is he's from Los Alamitos, and he just is that. That's who he is. Yeah. Right?
Yeah, and he wasn't putting on a show. That's not him trying to be something that he's not. I just think in that moment, and he's locked in. I'm serious. He's the type of guy. He's all business all the time. Lincoln Riley spoke so highly of him. He said, if there's one guy that I want these incoming players to shadow and learn from, it's McCoy Lemon. Because of the way that he goes about his business, it's just been, he's been perceived in a negative light throughout this whole process because of some of those interviews. But there's no character issues with McCoy Lemon.
Well, just watch. He's going to do his talking on the football.
Somebody said he had character issues?
Well, they were questioning the way that he acted in those interviews and thought maybe that was something that could have been an off-field issue. I've just saw a lot of that stuff.
Okay. I mean,
that's crazy.
Yeah, I didn't see that, but if they did, that's weird. Yeah. It's just an interview, man.
All right, let's move on to the Browns because the Browns had a nice little weekend. Some would say one of our guys, George, he works behind the scenes. He came decked out in his Browns gear because we have talked on this show so many times about how they need an offensive line and they need wide receivers. And they went and did just that. So let's take a look at who they got in the first couple rounds here. They went and got Spencer Fano, the offensive tackle. They got Casey Concepcion. They got wide receiver Denzel Boston. And then they got offensive tackle Austin Barber. So, to me, this is looking nice. And this puts Shador in a much better situation, or, Deshaun. But Aqib, how much will these picks help Shador?
Tremendously. I think the Browns, honestly, I think they won the draft. They checked all the boxes that they needed to check, and they got good players. Man, they started to revamp that line in free agency with re-signing Telvin Jenkins, Zion Johnson, Elton Jenkins. Now you add Spencer Fano and Austin Barber to that. I think you might be on to something. You know what I'm saying? I'm Ty Monken, he might like that situation. Then you give him a explosive, twitchy receiver, nice 6-foot receiver who's a touchdown machine, who also gonna help Shedeur by putting that offense in good positions from his punt returns as well. Then you give him a 6'4", 50-50 ball, red zone problem in Boston. So I honestly think Boston, Concepcion, and Judy, them might be the 3 receivers on the field the first time they go 11 personnel.
Ooh.
I can see them guys on the field real early with Shedeur. You add Fannin Jr. and Judkins to that, shit, Monken might be on something. You know what I'm saying? He might like what he got going. So I'm excited to see him, and I think they had a great draft, and I'm excited to see what Monken do with that group.
Yeah. Cody, you've been heavy on they needed both those. How are you feeling?
Yeah, no, I love the moves that Andrew Berry has made this offseason, not only in the draft, but the entire offseason to put their quarterback, whoever it is, if it's Shedeur, if it's Deshaun Watson, whoever wins that position battle, in a great
Better
situation.
be Shedeur, but go
And
ahead.
it very well could be Skip, and I think he should be the first guy out there throughout this offseason and get those ones reps. But I think it will be an open competition. It'll come down to whoever gives their team the best chance to win. But either way, whoever does win that quarterback battle, Andrew Berry's in putting them in a position to succeed this entire offseason. First thing they do is they go out and hire Todd Monken, who's an offensive-minded head coach and has had a lot of success as a play caller. He won back-to-back national championships with Georgia, led one of the most dominant offenses each of those years, helped Stetson Bennett become a Heisman finalist, and then he also went to Baltimore and had a lot of success, especially early on. 2023, Lamar Jackson wins the MVP. 2024, he throws for 41 touchdowns, only 4 interceptions, and runs for another 400 yards. The thing I love most about Todd Monken, too, and his offense is his versatility within the scheme. He does a great job of maximizing his quarterback's potential, regardless of who it is. Stetson Bennett and Lamar Jackson are 2 completely opposite type of quarterbacks, yet both have had success in his offense. That's a testament to Monken, the way that he can build his offense around his quarterbacks. The next thing they did, too, before the draft is they went out and made some moves up front with the offensive line in free agency, right? They signed Zion Johnson to a 3-year, $49 million deal. They get Elton Jenkins to a 2-year deal to come in and compete. And then they get Titus Howard from Houston to also come in and solidify that offensive line. And then they nailed it in the draft. I'm with Aqib. You could very well argue that the Browns won this draft. They go get Spencer Fano, 9th overall. They traded back for him, too, added capital, and still got the guy that they wanted. He's great in pass protection. He's great in the run game. And I think he could be a day 1 starter at left tackle for the quarterback. They go get Casey Concepcion, who we all loved on this couch. Great route runner. He's even better with the ball in his hands, too, after the catch, which is a quarterback I love. Get him a crosser route. Get him a hitch. Get him a screen for 3 or 4 yards and let him take it for 40 and make those big-time plays. And then Denzel Boston's a great compliment to him as well, a taller, physical receiver that can win those 50-50 catches. So, yeah, I love it. I think Andrew Berry's done a phenomenal job this offseason putting their quarterback, whoever it may be and whoever wins that position battle, in a position to succeed next year.
Yeah, I agree with what everybody's saying. You know, when you hire a new head coach, it's like if you bring in an artist, right, you want to give him a blank canvas and you want to give him brand new paintbrushes to create whatever masterpiece he wants. That's what you did with Todd Monken. You didn't bring him in and give him something that's already kind of painted a little bit and gave him the old brushes to say make something out of it. You gave him a blank canvas with all new paintbrushes, and now he can create and bring in the guys that fits what he wants to do. They made it very obvious what they wanted to do this offseason. Fix this offense. Protecting the quarterback was an issue. They got sacked the 7th most last year. Bottom of the league in rushing the ball, 97 yards a game. You got a young, dynamic running back. So what do? You address the O-line. We got to get somebody to protect our quarterback, get guys that can move guys out the way so we can run the ball. You had a nice rookie at tight end. You know they trust him. He's the guy for the future. That's why they let Njoku walk, because we got a guy. Bring in some wide receivers. Give our quarterback, whoever's going to be, a chance, because we have a good enough defense to compete with anybody. But we have to have an offense that can score some points, because a lot of the games they won, they stayed in it because of the defense. But then when you seen when the offense was putting up points, what this team can look like. So I'm excited to see what happens. They did a great job in the draft, definitely addressed all the needs on the offensive side of the ball. So it's interesting to see where this thing is going to go. But the pieces are for sure in place, and I like the pieces they got. They didn't just go get pieces. They got pieces that fit what Ty Monken wants to do, and guys that actually fit these particular roles. And I believe that they are going to maximize it with the guys they got, man. I'm excited to see it.
I agree. I said multiple times last football season, sitting here on this couch in a different place, but pretty much this couch, that Pro Football Focus throughout the year ranked Cleveland's offensive line bottom of the barrel, dead last. Receiving core, dead last for much of the football season. It sometimes varied a little bit, but that just ended. So I kept saying, you got to give Shedeur a break as a rookie starting quarterback. His degree of difficulty is off the charts because they can't block for him and they don't have anybody who can separate and get open and catch the football. But Quinshon Judkins is a keeper, and Fannin Jr. is a keeper, and he started to emerge starting middle of the year. And Carson Schlesinger won Rookie of the Year over on the other side. So you've got back-to-back drafts that are like A to A plus drafts. So your foundation is being built, hopefully, for Shedeur Sanders. And the main thing, as you guys pointed out, that they've done with the offensive line, they just blew it up.
Yeah.
They completely blew it up and started over, because what I do love the most is they have not re-signed Cam Robinson or Jack Conklin or Butonio. They're just like, no, we've seen your act. We're done with you. And Fano will come in, and I assume he's a day one starter at left tackle. Okay, now you've started fresh with a potential perennial Pro Bowler. So all that is nothing but great. But I got to mention this because it just pissed me off, is that we get all the way to the 6th round. And if you remember, Aqib, the day after the Combine, I did bring up Talib Green, because I watched him a lot at Arkansas, and you laughed at him because he turns the ball over a lot. He did in the SEC. But I just said, man, there's a lot to love here, because he's 6'6", what's he go, like 230, ran 4.36 at the Combine, and he's got a nice arm, and he started 25 SEC games for Arkansas, and they weren't very good, but I would watch him because he's mesmerizing, because if you watch him carefully, you say, wow, that was a nice throw. Oh, that was good. That was stupid, but that was nice. And I don't know why they took 8 of their 10 picks were offensive players, which is great. And then why would you do that to Shedeur? Why would you bring in a kid? And it just scares me that Monken is saying, I can work with that. I can do something with that, because there's just a lot to like. He's not just a running quarterback, because he was, 9th in the country this year in yards per completion with, what was it, like 14 per completion.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. And I'm saying, what are you doing to Shedeur? Why would you bring in a kid even younger than him now and say, well, he's got a chance to be the 3rd quarterback? I don't know. It just irked me. For Shedeur's sake, it's just a small sign of disrespect that in the 6th round you have to say, oh, we're going to take a project quarterback who's got potential to be more than just a running quarterback. I don't know.
I think he just do that for the future. If it don't work out with Deshaun or Shedeur, then maybe I could put a QB running style offense together for this dude. You know what I'm saying? So I don't see nothing wrong with it, man. He like you said, he's a talented guy. He a unicorn of a quarterback.
He is unicornish, but again, he just turning it over like crazy.
Right. Every OC wouldn't want that.
Yeah.
But Ty Monken look at that like, shit, I could do something with that.
He's doing. That's what he's saying.
Exactly. So
because if you just watched him on television, you just say, man, like, oh, that'll work.
Right.
And
that's probably what Monken was saying.
And remember, Talib Green was the Mountain West. He started at Boise State. So he's the Mountain West Freshman of the Year. Then he was the Mountain West Offensive Player of the Year, his 2nd year starting. So he's got some credentials. He's not just a flash in the pan for 1 year at Arkansas.
And he could throw. So if it do work out with Shedeur, say Deshaun is gone next year, now you got a solid little backup. You know what I'm saying? Where if something happened to Shedeur, he get hurt or whatever, you got somebody who could come in and play, man. So I just feel like for an OC like Monken, it's hard for him to pass up a guy like that.
And for an OC like Monken, who's mine, I just want to point something out. Terrell Pryor was a quarterback coming out of college, had all these attributes and whatever, and was a 1,000-yard receiver. So maybe his mind is thinking, if he don't pan out, he's such a freak athlete that we might can, you know what I'm saying? Like, you don't know where his mind is at with getting a guy like that. When you got a guy that's that skilled or that, like, athletic.
Didn't you play with
Yeah, I was with so Terrell Pryor's 1,000-yard year was my rookie.
that's right.
Yeah, so that's
But it wasn't just, TP didn't just play receiver, though. They had a lot of different packages to where I'd come out and he'd go in as a Wildcat quarterback who could also throw. So there's different possibilities they can do with that.
love that.
How was his arm? I don't remember.
Terrell Pryor's arm?
Yeah.
He's talented, man. He could spin it. He could throw it really well. But he was a great receiver, too, man. I know it wasn't his natural
Great
position.
is a strong word.
He was great for what we had in Cleveland that year.
All right, there we
TP's
go.
my dog, man. Hey,
There we go.
To go from
strong word.
playing quarterback your whole life to becoming a 1,000-yard receiver in Cleveland, and I didn't play the best. We had 3 different quarterbacks that year. He played well, man.
He's
he
a
did some good
football
stuff.
player.
I'm a big fan of TP.
Yeah,
You
we
won't hear me say
can't
one
use
negative
these
thing
words
about him.
loosely, Cody.
I'm just saying, a great receiver. And
He was a talent.
and Terrell
he was a great-
Pryor.
Let me fix that. He was a great athlete.
There you go.
Yeah, there
that
you
excelled at 2 positions. How about that? Is that
He
something
was a
better?
great dig runner.
He was a
Got
great.
a lot of digs.
50-50 balls, too. I remember we played in Tennessee. I threw him a corner out with 2 guys on him, and I was like, and I just snatched it from him.
I don't.
I might have played against him one time.
An elite corner,
I think so.
An elite corner
you
has
don't remember.
guarded
I don't
a lot
remember
of great wide receivers. I'm just
Quit hating
saying.
on my dog TP.
He's
man.
I don't remember those. I don't
he's a-
remember those kids, but I think I did.
He's an elite Hall of Fame caliber corner. He's guarded a lot of great wide receivers.
Yeah.
So if he's saying, like, let's.
Cody also is going to build up his guys.
Yeah, you know how Cody
Don't-
goes.
yeah, but I mean, don't.
Cody's going to root
I'm
for
just
his
saying,
guys.
We ain't
Strong
tearing him
word.
down,
Yeah,
but
no,
it
I
was
agree
just like,
with that.
hey.
I'm not. Yeah, but okay. In context, I'm not saying he's the greatest receiver. I just said great. Talking about him, sure, he's a good receiver, great athlete, was talented at 2 positions. But back to your point, Skip, with this quarterback situation, there's a couple ways to look at this. I think this was more of a luxury pick because they addressed the positional needs they needed to address on offense. So they're sitting there in the 6th round like, all right, we got offensive lineman, we got wide receiver, we got multiple needs already. Let's just take best available. A guy that
It's
we
the
think
unicorn on the board.
Let's go get this quarterback and see what he can do, maybe at quarterback or in some of these Wildcat situations. And it's also to bolster up that room. This year he's not going to come in and most likely won't compete for the starting job. It's to add some depth on the back end of that roster in case things don't work out with Dylan Gabriel or whoever doesn't win that starting job. They don't feel great about them as a backup, so you have an extra body in there to compete with those guys. And then if it doesn't work this year because Deshaun and Shador will 100% get their opportunity this year. Now you have someone else that you could develop for the future if it doesn't work out.
I think Taylon Green, from what I saw Terrell Pryor at Ohio State, is a little freakier than Pryor was. Just overall freakier. Just a little taller and a little faster. And throws it. He's got a big arm. I don't know.
Dude, a crazy athlete. He's crazy.
He's just crazy because he would he jump 43.5 on the
Numbers was crazy.
Yeah, numbers was crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, so the Browns last season ranked top 5 in total defense. Now all the improvements on offense. Cody, where do you see them ending up this year? Let's give Cleveland a little hope.
Yeah, I mean, defensively they're set, and Gerald said it. You can win games with how good that defense is. We're sitting with a guy on the couch that did it when he was in Denver, right? You just have to be a little bit better on offense to capitalize on what your defense is doing. If they get you a turnover, if they get you back-to-back 3-and-outs, you got to go score. At least get me 3 points. We can't have, games where it's a low-scoring game and you're not capitalizing on your defense. You also can't compound problems. You can't turn the ball over deep in your own territory and putting your defense in a bad position. That happened multiple times last year, and that kind of affected their points per game when you look at that defense, because they were a lot better than what the numbers showed. But I think they'll take a huge step forward. It's going to come down to the quarterback position, though, whether it's Deshaun Watson or Shador Sanders, whoever wins that position battle, they've got to elevate their play and capitalize on the pieces that they got around them.
You see them going above 500?
Yeah, I think they could. I think they could. They're in a tough division. We'll see what happens with Pittsburgh, but there's still questions at quarterback there.
Yeah.
Who knows if Aaron
Ravens
Rodgers is
are
coming
good
back.
looking.
They just drafted Drew Aller from Penn State. Maybe Will Howard on the roster as well. Cincinnati, they got to stay healthy. They've got questions with that defense. Who knows what they're going to look like? And then Baltimore, I think, is the favorite right now in that division. But again, you got to see what it looks like under Mentor. Declan Doyle is a first-time offensive coordinator. I think the North is wide open.
Yeah.
And don't sleep on Cleveland. They might surprise some people this year.
All right.
How much do you like your USC receiver who went to Lamar Jackson?
Oh, Jacoby Lane? I like him a lot. Yeah, he was
Bigger, red zone.
Not great.
Well.
He's a talented receiver. That's a big-time
Not
playmaker.
great.
He was a great compliment to McCoy.
He was.
And Lincoln Riley used him perfectly because you could have Lemon, who is a shorter, shiftier receiver, still make contested catches, but he can maneuver on the inside. And then you had Jacoby Lane opposite of him, who's 6'3", 6'4", and is one of the best 50-50 ball catchers in the country. So it's going to give Lamar options when Zay Flowers is double-teamed, when they're focusing on Mark Andrews, when the run game's working and they're loading the box. You got some one-on-ones with Jacoby Lane outside. I think that's what Baltimore was missing. Now you can throw it up and go let him make some plays.
Yep.
The AFC North back in it, they kind of all died last season.
Yeah, it
So
was
I
down
think,
last year. But
it was down.
I think the AFC North, they're going to be back this year.
Yeah, I'm
it's going to
excited
be
to
very
see that.
competitive in the AFC North for sure.
Well, a little light for Cleveland. Let's move on to the Cowboys because the chat on Friday, you guys gave the Cowboys an A after the first round because obviously you guys got Caleb Downs and Malachi Lawrence. And no surprise, Jerry Jones also, I think, seemingly giving himself an A because this is what he had to say after the draft. I'm going to quote him here. He says, we can put it together. The two teams in the Super Bowl, they didn't make the playoffs the year before. I know it can happen because I've done it when it didn't work and I've done it when it worked. You just keep swinging that pick. So Jerry clearly leaning towards probably the Cowboys back in the Super Bowl.
But by the way, he's done it when it worked 30 years ago. Go ahead. Right?
Still did it, Skip.
Am I right?
There's some teams who's never done it. So, Gerald, do you think that they can contend in the NFC next season?
Yeah, I do because if he's comparing them to New England and Seattle, going into last season, we didn't know what New England and Seattle were. We know what the Cowboys are. They are a top 5 offense already. So what did they need to address? The defensive side of the ball. And as the year went on, they did that. But then this offseason, they really did it. Everything's going to start with those two guys in the middle. 2 Pro Bowl defensive tackles can make everything change for a defense. Lee played with AD and Sue. It was a luxury to have both of them in the middle. Make everything a lot easier when you got 2 Pro Bowl caliber guys in the middle, okay? Then you bring in Rashawn Gary. A lot of people are down on Rashawn Gary, but he's been a Pro Bowler before. He's consistently getting to the quarterback enough to where you don't need him to be just that one guy to go get you 10, 12, 13 sacks because they brought in a young guy who's going to add to the rush. When you got guys that's push in the middle of the pocket, that's what they are going to do that's going to help with the edge guys. So then you got to address the back end. They brought in, Jalen Thompson, safety. They brought in Kobe Durant, but then they brought in who a lot of people believe was the best defensive player in the draft, Caleb Downs at safety. So you address the defensive side of the ball and you've improved on that side of the ball, they are at worst going to be way better than they were last year defensively. And that'll win them at least 3-4 more games that gets them in the playoffs. And then once you get in the playoffs, anything can happen.
Yeah.
Because they already have that dynamic offense. So, yeah, I believe they can compete, because it's in comparison to who he brought up, New England and Seattle. They didn't have anything that was established where they got that. Cowboys, we know they going to put up points. They just got to be able to stop somebody, and I think they improved to where they'll be able to do that better this year.
Love it. Aqib, before last season, you were actually able to predict what happened with the Cowboys, and then you said this season they're going to do it. After this draft, do you feel that way?
I do this shit. I do this shit, Kinsey. I'm telling you, they'll win 11, 12 games. They definitely going to compete. They're going to do more than compete in the NFC. They'll be in the playoffs. They'll be in the mix. Skip going to be happy this year. We're going to see a lot of – I think you still a Cowboys fan or what?
Hey.
It's hard to tell now. I don't know.
You know what I am? I'm an objective Cowboy fan.
All right.
You can't find very many of those.
What he is, he's a secret Philly fan is what he is.
That's exactly what he is. We're going to see a lot of Cowboy blue from Skip this year,
Skip going to have a lot of intros.
I'm telling you, with a whole bunch of intros. A whole lot of intros.
Skip going to have a lot of intros this season.
But that offense going to be explosive. We already saw that. And I think they may even be more explosive this year than they was last year because Dak and Shotty know how they want to play with CD and Pickens. Hopefully Pickens is still there. With CD and Pickens, they know how they want to play with them. You know what I'm saying? This O-line is a year into it. That's a year, another year of camaraderie, another year of cohesiveness. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's that same group. So you was able to keep Pickens, you was able to keep Javonte. This group may be even more explosive than they was last year. Then you get to the defense. shit, I think they made all the right moves on defense, man. The trade is finally complete, and you see what they got for it, man. G said it. It start with them big dogs in the middle, Quinnen, Clark, and what's my guy from the Chargers? Whatever his name is, Aguania, that's his name, the nose tackle, the big nose tackle.
Oh, yeah.
I swear he's gonna be a problem. He's a run-stopping guy, man. You need a real rock right there in the middle of your defense at that nose, and that's exactly what he is. And then you will have Overshawn for more than 6 games this year. You had him for 6 games. He missed the first 12. It's like he missed the whole season. You know what I'm saying? You will have him all year. James, he played a bunch as a rookie. He'll definitely be better. He did great at blitzing last year. He'd be better against the run with a whole season under his belt. And I like the depth that they added in the secondary, man, with Locke and Kobe. You bring them in to add a lot of depth. You draft the best defensive player in the draft. Thompson is a legit starting safety in this league. You know what I'm saying? And then Bland is a star, bro. When he's healthy, he is a baller. You don't get 9 interceptions and 5 touchdowns in one season if you ain't a baller. So he got surgery early January. He probably good to go right now. If not the next month or so, he'll be ready to go. So I like what they did on defense, man. And Christian Parker, it's his job to cook it up.
Yep.
He got to cook it up. But I think they gave him all the ingredients that he need. Everything is right there. And he got to call a game, put guys in position to do what they're good at doing. And I think he'll do a good job of that. So trust me when I tell you, the Cowboys going to be in the mix, man. It's going to be a good season for Cowboys fans and the objective ones as well, Skip.
Yeah, Cody, before you go that Jayshon Barham,
Yeah.
I'm telling you, man, a lot from Michigan.
Yep.
A lot of people, I don't give a lot of people just praise like that especially when they play in OU.
Yeah.
But he was suspended for the first half versus OU a couple years ago because he had a targeting situation where he had to sit out the first half. And they defense just didn't look like the whole team. That one guy came in the game in the second half and the whole energy shifted. His ability to be able to run sideline to sideline, he'll hit anything moving, he can cover, he can rush, he can do it all. I believe he honestly is going to be a steal. And if they use him right, he can really be a piece for this defense. So
I agree.
that guy right there, man,
that
was a really good draft.
Michigan.
That was a really good draft pick, bro.
The depth they got on their defense,
right?
though.
Last year's game against Michigan, right? The one early last year, right? Okay, go.
The depth they got on that defense, though. They got Sam Williams, Mekhi Lawrence, and Barham. Them probably
Overton
the backups.
too they added Overton from Alabama as well in the draft.
Them probably the backups. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
With Ezraku and Gary starting. So, man, it's great depth on the Cowboys defense right now. A guy go down, they got another guy to come in. A guy don't perform, they got another guy to come in. So, telling you, man, I like all the guys they got in place right now.
Yeah, I've been saying this all offseason. My biggest concern with Dallas right now is they've been going in the wrong direction the last 2 years. They've won 7 games each of the last 2 seasons, and in 2024, I know they had some injuries and Dak got hurt, but even before he got injured, they were 3-5 to start that year, and now they're coming off of their worst defensive season statistically in franchise history. So that's what's worrisome right now about Dallas. But with that being said, I agree with both of these guys. I think they're going to turn the corner this year, and I think they're going to be legit contenders this season in the NFC, not just in their division, but in the entire conference. I think they are going to surprise a lot of people. Offensively, they're set. You guys talked about it. You know, they averaged 27 points per game last year. They were second in total offense. They got another year with Shoddy as their coordinator. They got the pieces in place that are returning with Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, and George Pickens, arguably the best wide receiver duo in the NFL. The thing I love the most, though, they did this offseason was sign Javonte Williams to a 3-year extension. He opens up a lot for them in the run game. If you can turn around and hand the football off as a quarterback, that's going to give you so many more opportunities in play action. That's going to give you more loaded boxes. So now I can really utilize Pickens and CeeDee Lamb, and if I'm Dak, take your pick. You can throw to either one of them. Offensive line is solid, and also the secret weapon on that offense is Jake Ferguson. He's a matchup nightmare on the inside. He had 8 touchdowns last year, so offensively they're good. Obviously, defense is going to be the biggest question mark, but I think they do improve. You talked about all the pieces that they added. They had a solid draft. Caleb Downs, arguably the best pound-for-pound defensive player. You add him to the secondary, but I really like the Christian Parker hire this offseason because
So does
He's
Jerry.
shown-
Jerry's saying he's Bill Belichick.
Well, he's shown a track record, Skip, of developing players. He did it in Philadelphia as a secondary coach with Cooper DeJean, with Quinyon Mitchell. Now you give him an entire defense to help develop that group as a unit, and he's learned from Vance Joseph for a year in Denver, 2 years under Vic Fangio in Philadelphia, two of the best defensive minds in football. Now he can take things from both of those guys and put together his own scheme in Dallas, and now they got the players to do it as well. So things are looking up for the Cowboys. I know it feels like every year we're saying this is Dallas's year, but I'm bought in, man. I'm believing in Dallas and what they're building right now. Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones have done a great job this offseason of addressing positional needs and putting together a good roster.
Did you know Michael Trigg at USC?
No, I missed him, but I watched him.
He's from Tampa.
Yeah.
Was at USC. They ended up at Baylor. They signed him as an undrafted free agent.
Good player.
He's
freak athlete. He tight end slot.
Listen, you
put
add
in the
him
spot.
there.
Yeah.
He a tight end slot. Man, listen.
Yep.
They could be able to use him, and they'd have to pay him. He's like they have to draft him.
Yeah.
They got him as a free agent.
He's a good player.
You got
Yeah, I
two
like
winners
him.
from us. He's solid,
I was
fast.
going to mention that in my opening remark.
There we go.
Yeah. So I can't tell you how much I hope all three of you are dead right about this, especially you with going all the way to 12 wins next year, because I would be out of my mind. I will have some intros if we win 12 games. I thought last year we could get off to a great start because if you look back at our schedule, by NFL standards, it broke pretty easily for us and we couldn't live up. And I thought we'd go to Philly on opening Thursday night because they'd be a little distracted, living in the past off their championship, and beat them. And we had them dead to rights in the fourth quarter, and CD dropped 2 passes. And after I'm saying he's the best receiver in football. Okay, so I got to first analyze what I saw with this draft because there are 2 ways to look at it. We traded some picks. So if I take our trade picks as part of the haul, then I give the traded picks an A+, because I'm looking at the 2 we gave as part of the Quinnen Williams trade. Okay, I'm good. We didn't have a 2 in this draft, but it went for Quinnen. And to your points, he's a stud, man. He's an anchor. Yeah. We got that guy. He is that guy. And then we give a 3. You forget about this, but it went for Pickens because Mike Tomlin said more trouble than worth. Just get him out of my sight. And they gave George Pickens to us, and I'm still highly unsure about how happy he's going to be under the tag. But last year it worked mostly. He was late to meetings and he missed a bus and he didn't show up for the Detroit game. I don't care what you say, he just didn't show up. Whatever. But he still had a great year overall. And I'm going to use the word great that you don't, I think it applied to his year last year.
It did.
He was great. And then, Kinsey, to your point, we did give a 5th for D. Winters, who was your backup linebacker, but he got pressed into service because of all your injuries. And he was catching my eye, especially against Seattle at the end of the year in the playoff game.
I agree.
He played at a pretty high level where he's making 6-7 tackles. I'm saying, who's that guy? Well, now you're healthy again, you hope, and he was expendable, and we got him for a 5th. He'll be in our linebacker rotation because he knows how to play football.
Yes.
Okay, so I liked all that. I give that an A+. But now, just bear with me, because I planted all my flags in the draft, and I was completely out of step with everything Jerry did in the draft because I sat right here a week ago and I said, if Jerry will just sit still at 12 and 20 and give me the bookend pass rushers from the U, I'll take both of them. I'll take Reuben Bain and I'll take Messidor at 12 and 20, and I'll be a happy camper because if you give me both of them, I revitalize at the most important position on defense, rushing the passer. What happened? Again, Caleb Downs falls. I'm going to get to him in a second. And maybe he didn't fall. Maybe those teams above just, they don't want to draft a safety. They don't think the position is important enough to spend that high of a pick on. And yet there's Jerry, and he's getting all this credit for trading up with Miami and stealing Caleb Downs. And I keep saying, if Miami had wanted Caleb Downs, they would have laughed at Jerry's trade request, right? I mean, if he calls up and says, I'll give you 2/5 to move from 12 to 11, and if they think, well, wait a second, Caleb Downs just fell into our lap, wouldn't they just laugh? But no, they were already sitting on Proctor, and so they're just saying, thank you, we'll take 2 extra fifths for no point. You know, we'll go to 12 because we know we're going to get Proctor at 12. Okay, so here's my point. You got Reuben Bain, and you don't take him at 11 or 12. You could have had him at 12, right?
Thank you, Dallas.
And thank you, Dallas, because you're a Tampa guy, and Jason Light's saying, thank you, God, and thank you, Jerry, because you got, listen, I know David Bailey is really good, but in his own way, coming off the edge and playing the run, Reuben Bain is right there with David Bailey in impact. And then I'm going to jump ahead because we were talking before the show about Keontae Scott. I just love Keontae Scott because the analysts I trust, that they saw him as like a culture changer, the way he plays with energy and electricity. And Dallas is sitting right there in the 4th round with the 2 picks they got from Philly, trading back to 23. And they take Devin Moore in the 4th round. And I watched Florida some, and he just didn't catch my eye. He's long, tall, heavy-footed, injured a lot. And he had a good interview with Christian Parker. He liked him on the chalkboard. So he takes Keontae Scott is sitting there, and I'm out of my mind. Like, he's there. He just fell into your lap. So all of a sudden, Jason Light gets both Reuben Bain and Keontae Scott. Watch what happens. Just watch what happens next year in Tampa. Both will start and both will star for the Bucs, in part because they need both of them desperately badly. But those are difference makers at positions that are difference making. And then I know you like Barham, although when I watched Michigan, Ohio State, he had 1 tackle. I didn't see what I saw the second half against Oklahoma. He came in and had 6 tackles in the second half alone, and I'm like, wow, I got you. But he's a tweener. Is he going to edge rush, or is he going to play linebacker? I think they're going to try him in the linebacker rotation. Okay, but guess who's still sitting there, late 3rd round? Jermod McCoy is just sitting there, and I'm saying, please, God, just take him. Because if Jerry had taken Jermod McCoy at 23 in the 1st round, I would have been okay with that because, listen, if he ever gets right, he's the best at your position. He's the best. And late 3rd round, I'm saying, Jerry, just do it. Just take Jermod McCoy because, okay, maybe he's not going to be quite stable on that knee for a year, but once he gets his legs underneath him, he is a star. What I saw from his year before play at Tennessee, he was a cut above Mansour Delane, just a cut above. And I think you agreed with me, right?
I do.
Okay, so there's another one. So you don't get Reuben Bain, and you leave Messidor at when you traded back from 20 to 23, Messidor's just sitting right there. And I said, Jerry, just take him. Don't get cute with Howie Roseman. And he 2 things happened. He let Howie Roseman come up and steal Mekhi Lemon, who is exactly what they wanted and needed. And you go back to 23, and guess what happens at 22? Messidor, boom, he goes to the Chargers. And I'm saying, what are you doing, man? And then they take Malachi Lawrence at 23. And you could, if you're watching the other the ABC broadcast, Nick Saban's on the live mic, and I think he didn't know he was on yet. And they saw who the pick was going to be, and you can hear him say, "Wow, that's a reach." And that's what I thought it was. It was just a reach. And I know you liked him, but Messidor's a little better. I know he's an older player, but so is Malachi's older player. He was there for 5 years. So to me, R. Mason Thomas is a little better and will be a little better. What's that?
I would have taken him over Malachi.
I know. I would take him over Malachi. So there are 2 Messidor and R. Mason Thomas. R. Mason Thomas is a bad man coming off the edge. Yeah. He is in Kansas City.
And he going to get coached by Joe Cullen?
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Okay. I'm just saying. So I'm out of step with the whole process. Okay. Back to Caleb Downs. So the reason everybody's raving about Dallas stealing Caleb Downs was because all the people who were analyzing had mocked Caleb Downs way high. They had him going 5, 6, 7. And you're saying maybe best defensive player in the draft. Okay, I think David Bailey is, and I think you do too. So, but you think Caleb Downs. But you to your credit,
argument, yeah.
You brought him up early, like midway through the NFL season. You're talking about Caleb Downs. Yeah. Okay, so I watch Caleb Downs a lot, and as I told these guys on Friday, he never makes a mistake, but I don't see him make a lot of plays. So will he stabilize the back end of the Cowboy defense? Yes, no doubt. Will he organize and quarterback and be coach on the field? No doubt about it. He's as good as it's ever come down the pike at doing those things. But I don't need a stabilizer. I need a difference maker. I need a pass rusher or a corner. And he doesn't play either of those positions, even though I think he'll play some nickel, because he can cover. But the two, I said this the other day on Friday, the two draft analysts that I respect the most, Lance Zierlein and Dane Brugler at The Athletic, they both criticized Caleb Downs because he doesn't play the football. He doesn't have ball production. He had 2 interceptions a year at Alabama, 2 at Ohio State, 2 at Ohio State. He forced 3 fumbles. He's not an Aqib Talib. I told you Friday, he doesn't do that. He's not Ed Reed. He's not Earl Thomas. He's a tackler, but he's not a head-hunting tackler. He's not a fierce tackler like Darren Woodson was, or if we go back to the days of, whoever you want to, like Ronnie Lott or Jack Tatum. I don't see any of that stuff. I just see as solid as has ever played that position in college football. That's what he is. And I didn't want solid. And here's the point, to close this case. I just remind you, there were 10 teams who were mocking the mock drafts about Caleb Downs. They're mocking the mocks because 10 times ahead of the Cowboys pick, 10 teams could have picked him. And I'm not counting the Raiders. I'm saying they were obviously going to take the quarterback. But 10 times, starting with the Jets, if he's the best player and the best defensive player, the Jets would have said, okay, we take him, right? And it just went, look at this list. Okay, so the Jets say no to Caleb Downs. Then Arizona could have taken him, and they take Jeremiah Love. Wait a second. Tennessee could have taken him, and they don't. And then the Giants passed him twice. And then Kansas City trades up, and I'm thinking, are they going to take Caleb Downs? No, they take the corner because corner is more valuable than safety. And then here comes Washington, another NFC East foe, and they say, no, Sonny Styles is better at his position than Caleb Downs is at his position. And then New Orleans, they could have taken Caleb Downs, and they take your receiver, right? And then, wait a second, here's Cleveland. They had traded back. They wanted left tackle, but they could have taken Caleb Downs because they could use him, but they already have a top 5 defense.
Yeah,
but they could serve. Then the Giants again, and then here comes Miami. And Miami's just sitting there and said, yeah, we'll take your 2 5th-round picks because they don't want Caleb Downs. They want Caden Proctor. Am I right? Okay, so I just gave you 10 teams. I can even count Cleveland twice because they traded back. I could make it 11 times. Teams said no to Caleb Downs. What does that tell you? They're mocking the mocks. They're saying, no, we don't see what these draft analysts are seeing because Caleb Downs was a mock draft Hall of Famer. That's what he was. In this,
not Ohio State Hall of Famer.
So what did the team see when CD fell to the Cowboys?
Well,
CD was
okay, but I was already on record before. I said I love CD Lamb.
Was that like a gift or was that like
that's a steal? No, that's a steal. That's just
so how.
Okay,
can Caleb Downs not be a steal for the Cowboys?
Could be. I hope
he's
he
a steal for the Cowboys.
The team before him just draft on
they
team
drafted
needs.
Okay, you're that high, but it's
Right.
positional needs. You value positional needs over players.
Yeah.
Can this guy come in right away and make an impact? Sure, Caleb Downs, you could argue, make an impact on most of those
Okay,
teams.
do you see Ed?
10, but they had other areas they needed to address first.
Do you see Ed Reed in Caleb Downs?
I see what's necessary for y'all to first knock off. The first thing I got to do is knock off the Eagles.
And
Yes.
Caleb Downs. That's what I see.
don't. Kyle Ham's at 6'4", 220.
I don't give a fuck what size
Yeah,
you is.
I
see
do
how you
that.
play.
Huh?
I see around
You
the
can
box,
do all of that.
getting guys lined up, making the checks, know exactly where the ball going. Tackles. Tackles after tackles. Plays in the backfield.
You want him to cover. You want him to come downhill and cut like all
a general, bro. I see when he's out the game, it look one way. When you put him in the game, it look like this. That's what I see.
You know what?
That's what you're gonna see, Skip. You're gonna see
when
it.
Jalen Hurts look across that other side of the field, he gonna see Caleb Downs over there. He gonna understand. I got these guys on my side, but they also got him. And then we got all these other guys.
Patricia ain't use him in the post. He could have put him in the post and let him play center field and get picks and intercept deep balls in post, but he ain't need him in the post. I need you in the box to be like Luke Kuechly. Hey, Jet, come here, Jet. Ooh. To the ball. I'm telling you, he calling shit out and making checks.
Is he part linebacker?
Damn near. He a box safety.
He can do everything.
He a box safety.
And you know why?
He can guard tight
You know
ends.
why?
He could guard running backs. He could guard slot receivers. He could do anything you need him to do in that box.
And Lieb understanding, and Cody will too, how defenses are now in today's NFL. It's hard to find that Levante David or that Luke Kuechly where you got this do everything backer.
I understand.
That's why they bringing Derwin James down and letting him be in there because he's a do everything guy. So now you got a Caleb Downs because that's what he can do. You bring him down, he can do everything. He get everybody lined up and all this. If we talking about Arvell Reese and how talented he is, but we really don't know, and he kind of don't know if he can cover, not really all. You know why he was able to do all that? Because Caleb Downs getting everybody lined up. And just go over there and stand right here. You go over here and this is Sonny Styles can just run side to side because Caleb Downs is there. I'm telling you,
and I'm telling you, Skip, them defenses had these. It's a guy that every defense don't have him, right? Like ours was Chris Harris Jr. I'm telling you, it's they fucking film junkies, and they know sometimes teams line up and they're like, hey, this coming right here. This Chris Harris was like that for us.
Okay, but he's playing corner.
But he played the nickel.
Okay.
Chris was inside with the linebackers. He'd be, hey, leave, ooh, tell me something. Ooh, there, run that shit. I'm like, oh shit.
Okay. All right.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes I ain't even know, and I call myself a film junkie. He used to make so many plays for Danny Trey and B. March because he knew everything that was going on. And when I talked to Matty P, he said that's what Caleb Downs is. He knows what's going on with that offense, and he a general in that box. That's why he played him in that box like that. So you don't find those kind of guys.
I told you Friday, you can't find a you.
Right.
They don't come along very often, and Caleb Downs is not you when it comes to ball in the air. I anticipated.
But Kyle Hamilton not neither.
Yeah, and there's
Kyle
not a lot
Hamilton
of-
ain't me neither, but do you love Kyle Hamilton?
Yeah.
All right, well, you're going to love Caleb Downs, I promise you. If you love Kyle Hamilton, you're going to love Caleb Downs.
There's not a lot of Aqib Talibs. There's not a lot of Ed Reeds. There's not a lot of those guys, and we don't know what he's going to be. Does he have the potential to be an all-pro safety and be a great player in Dallas for the next 10-plus years? Absolutely. We just don't know that yet. But everything you've seen at Ohio State, who he's learned from, and Matt Patricia, leads you to believe that can happen for him.
Earl Thomas, Legion of Boom.
Yeah.
I used to argue with my guy Richard Sherman back and forth. They're in cover two much of the time. And Richard just knows he's back there playing center field. He's not box safety. He's Willie Mays in center field, going sideline to sideline.
Cam Chancellor was down there knocking everybody.
He was that. I'm just saying, I love the guy.
But times have changed.
With Ed Reed, when the opposing quarterback looks across the field, he's thinking, he's going to take me to the house. Because 9 times in Ed Reed's career, he picked off footballs and ran it all the way back because he can return, right? And I'm not sure how fast Caleb Downs is. He didn't run a 40 because he's got a knee issue. And they say it's degenerative, and he scoffed at it. I hope this is right. But I'm just saying he's a box safety who is as efficient and technically sound a tackler as I've ever seen. He just doesn't miss. He doesn't miss a tackle.
Y'all don't need that?
But he doesn't scare anybody. Do you remember Darren Woodson? Okay. Darren Woodson, you want to talk about playing downhill? You want to talk about the fear of God in ball carriers? Because Darren Woodson is 6'2", 220, and he is going to come and pack a wallop, and you're going to remember every time he hits you. And with Caleb Downs, he's just a technically efficient, proficient tackler who just gets you down.
But he get everybody else going. Okay. How many times did the Cowboys give up big play touchdowns because of mistakes?
Oh, so it was horrendous last year, right? Russell Wilson, game 2 at Jerry World.
Mistake.
It's
so that's
like
when somebody in that box gonna turn around. Hey,
it's 40. I told you Friday. Russell Wilson won't be able to come to the Bears the next week. He threw 4 touchdowns.
Like, come on, bro.
And it's like
all mistakes.
Yeah. And
so you got to have a
okay, those won't happen. Mistakes. I give you.
So that's going to make you better right there.
It will definitely.
That's kind of stuff that's going to clean up. And then Kyle Hamilton got 5 interceptions in 4 years, but you love him, though.
I do.
All right, so
because it's always
possible
around
for you
the
to love somebody, Skip, without them.
Caleb is always around the football.
I'm telling you, they just make plays.
Okay.
He don't come down and smash the shit out of nobody. He's a great tackler. He's just always around the ball. He make plays in the box. That's the same thing Caleb Downs going to do.
Kyle Hamilton is 6'4", 220, at least 220.
And he's not a bruiser.
at all. He is tall, skinny guy.
Yeah,
He not a bruiser.
But he breaks up everything. He's just always around the football, breaking up passes, knocking people
That's
down.
what Caleb Downs
That's what
is.
Caleb Downs is going to be. He's going to be around the ball.
I hope
He
you're
did it
right.
for 3 years straight in college football.
But it's-
in the SEC and the Big Ten and top of the line football. He was clearly the best guy on that defense.
Okay, what's more important, corner or safety to you?
Corner.
By far.
Yes,
Like by
corner.
far.
And Delane is gone, so we can't get the best corner.
Okay.
Why would we?
Yeah.
Like, what
Okay,
we doing?
do you agree with me what I told you about Jermod McCoy and Keontae Scott?
Well, Jermod
They're
McCoy, the reason
Well, if
he
you
fell
think-
so far is because
Yeah.
they worried about his knee as well.
Well,
Right. They
obviously.
said his knee could be. They said his knee could be cooked for like
Ever?
And I think,
Ever.
And
Yeah.
to that point, Jamal McCoy is going to need a year or two to get back to where he needs to be. Dallas is trying to win
mean,
right
he's-
now.
Right now.
They're
Las
trying to
Vegas,
win right
the Raiders,
now.
Jerry said they could do what they just did.
Well, but
That mean now.
the Raiders have time to let him recover from his knee injury because, yeah, they want to win some games, but they're still a year or two away from being competitive.
Right.
Dallas needed someone in that third round that they could plug and play right away that could make an impact for them.
Yeah.
Skip, I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised by Caleb Downs. You're going to be
I
happy
hope
this
you're
season.
right. I
He's a
can't
dog.
tell you how much. Yeah.
You know what he's doing? You know what? Skip's getting these clips out there so Caleb Downs sees this shit.
To fire him
And he
up?
wants to prove him wrong in Dallas, and now he becomes an all-pro safety in the next 2 years.
Well, he better be a Pro Bowl safety. He just better be.
he will
You know what?
He will be.
Yeah.
You say us three, we first guessed it. All right.
Yeah.
So, to use your quote, we gonna
Yeah.
tell you we first guessed
Okay.
Caleb
Yeah.
Downs being all pro
Yeah.
safety. So when that happened,
How many wins do you have Dallas next year?
I give him 12.
12 and 12.
Yeah, I give him 12. Yeah.
They're gonna be nice.
say
Skip.
12 wins.
Do I hear a 13?
I'll give him. I think
Do I hear
11 and 12.
Going one,
get a
13.
What do you have, Skip? What do you think?
5.
No, I could give him 10. You know.
Yeah, 10. That's
10 to work.
fair.
Yeah.
All right, let's look at the NFC East, though, because I will say they made some splashes in the draft, and so it is going to be hard. The Giants added Arvell Reese, Francis Mauanoa, and Tennessee corner Colton Hood. And then the Eagles drafted McCoy, obviously Vanderbilt tight end Eli Stowers, and then another Skip favorite. Wait, you like Eli?
Do I?
Love him. Okay, and then of course Howie making his move. He was traded for Pro Bowl edge rusher Jonathan Grenard, and then the Commanders added Sonny Styles and Clemson wide receiver Antonio Williams. So things are moving in the NFC East. There's a lot going on. So Skip, which team in the NFC East improved the most? I know you're not excited about the Cowboys. We all are right now. Who do you think improved the most?
For the record, I hate the Philadelphia Eagles. With all my heart and soul, I grew up hating them since I was
just
10
love
years
it.
You
of age.
talk them up all the time.
Howie Roseman just runs Super Bowl rings around Jerry Jones. And I just had to sit back and watch Howie go to Jerry, his patsy, and say, hey, would you let me trade up from 23 to 20? I'll give you 2 fourth-round picks for this. Let me come up to 20. Jerry says, sure, I'll let you do it. And he steals Mekhi Lemon. And I was on the record before the draft, as Cody will attest, I said he's the best receiver in the draft. Yeah. And not only is he the best receiver, he went to the very best place for him and for them. It's just what the doctor ordered for Sean Mannion's new offensive approach. He wants to throw it over the middle, and who better to catch it over the middle than this guy, right? He lives in the middle of the football field. He is fearless. He is the ultimate dog in this draft. He is the ultimate baller in this draft. The Eagles fans, as I said earlier, they're just going to love him. It was a home run. It was the steal of the first round for Howie to watch what's happening and say, wait, he's still there? Jerry, will you? And then Jerry leaves Messidor on the table for the Chargers, and it was humiliating to me to watch that happen. And then in the second
He should have got
round,
Messidor, though.
huh?
I said he should have got Messidor.
You could just sit home. You just sit there, and then 2 things happen.
G liked Malachi Lawrence, though. You said he was better than Messidor.
No,
You did.
I just think he liked
G
McCoy.
said it.
Yeah.
I do.
Yes,
Yeah, I do remember.
Yes,
G
I
said
did.
it. He said it.
I did, but I didn't say I would be upset if they took Messidor. They took 1 pick before. I ain't like, oh, they took Messidor, not Lawrence. I don't care. Whatever.
All right. So then I planted my flag early, the day after the
I would have took
combine.
R. Mason, by the way. But,
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
And I put you on the spot one day, and I said R. Mason or Malachi Lawrence, and you said
R.
R.
Mason.
Okay,
for sure.
all right.
Yeah.
I told you the day after the combine ended, we did the show on Monday, Eli Stowers will be the best pass-catching tight end in the draft, and I get you on Kenyon Sadiq, workout warrior. I got all that. But I know Eli Stowers just because I watched every Vanderbilt game that he played. He started as a quarterback at Texas A&M, transitioned to receiver, and he's not really a tight end. I don't even know. Kuiper had him as an H-back. I don't know what you call him. He's a wide out, and he's 6'4", 220. No, actually, I think he was 240. But again, he set the combine records for the vertical and for the broad jump for tight ends. But his vertical was top 3. It tied the other 2 best jumps over the last 20 years. It was DK Metcalf that he tied. So he's freakish leaper, broad jumper. He's got the best hands I've ever seen in college football because, trust me, my little quarterback, Diego Pavia, I felt bad for him because he ended up just getting a tryout, a mini camp tryout with the Ravens, and he deserved better than that. But I have to say, Eli Stowers just made Diego Pavia, he can be wildly inaccurate, and Eli Stowers is just going up and snatching it here and there. He's got the widest catch radius I've ever seen in college football. And you talk about 3rd and 9 catches. Listen, Howie knew what he was doing, and he stole him later in the 2nd round. And then you brought this up. Then he makes the trade for Jonathan Greenard. And not only does he go get him, but he gives him 4 years, $98 million with $50 million guaranteed and just locks him up for 4 years. And I know he was hurt last year, but if you go back to his last year with the Texans, he had 12.5. In his first year in Minnesota, he had 12. He's just a stud. He's a proven commodity pass rusher, exactly what they needed after they lost Jalen Phillips. And I don't know, those 3 picks, and I'm going to include Greenard in this, to me, that's the best haul. That's just because every one of those players is going to have huge impact on that football team immediately.
My question to you, Skip, is he said, who improved the most? Did that make Philly improve the most with those?
Well, they struggled on offense last year, didn't they?
Yeah, but does that make them improve like as a team? Does that make them improve the most? To me, it's the Cowboys. Because their defense has gotten way.
Yeah.
Didn't you say statistically it was the worst they've been?
In history.
In history.
Franchise history.
In history. And then you go out and you get all of these players and you add them to this and what they're going to do. To me, the Cowboys are who improved the most because defensively they were just so bad. And I'm just looking around and I'm looking at who the Giants picked, and I just don't see who they picked making them that much better.
It was pretty good, though.
Next year.
It's pretty good.
I'll tell you why in a second.
They're going to be better, but the most, I feel like with what the Cowboys did defensively, they'll make the biggest jump because they already have their offense that's in place. And if they can stop some people, a lot of people in trouble in the NFC. So I'm sticking with the Cowboys.
Okay, real quick. So you're just saying Caleb Downs and Barham? Is that? Or who else?
They brought in a safety.
You're talking about.
And then they got Sean Gary, and then they got Malachi Lawrence. They got all I'm
talking about
the most in the offseason.
That's what I'm talking about. The entire
the whole offseason, not just the draft.
I was just talking about the draft.
Oh no, I'm talking about the whole offseason. The Cowboys
you included the free agent with Philly though.
You said
no, but they
right?
traded for him. Who?
Grenard.
But they traded
for him. Traded a pick.
They traded.
Yeah, but I'm saying like from last season to this season. With the draft and offseason, who improved the most? I'm going with the Cowboys.
Okay.
Same. I'm going with the Cowboys. I mean.
Oh. Skip, you got to be feeling good.
Come
on.
They brought in 4 new starters on defense. All right, you go Gary, Agbania, Thompson, and Downs. You got 4 new starters on defense, and on top of that, you got you a new DC. You know what I'm saying? That's part of the offseason package is a new DC. Just what.
So is he a proven commodity to you, Christian Parker? You like that?
If he run that Fangio system, then I think that system will fit the Cowboys a lot better than the system fit him last year.
They've obviously gone 4-3 to 3-4. So
Exactly.
Okay.
So I think that system, he's not proven. He ain't did it before in the league.
Nope.
He hasn't been the defensive coordinator in the NFL yet, so he's still got a lot to prove. But I think just the system alone that he's bringing is going to fit them guys
all right.
a lot better. Then they was able to keep Pickens and Javonte, man. That's part of the improvement to me. So I almost said the Giants. You know what I'm saying? The Giants got 2 starters. Shit,
did.
maybe a possible starter with Colton Hood. If he come in and his game translate to the NFL, because you watch his tape on the line of scrimmage, he a dog. His press
everything.
His press technique
He
is
puts hands on everything.
bro. His press technique is second to
hands
none.
on everything.
He may be a starter as well. So
Well, he's a bully to me. Like
that's what I'm saying. I was close to saying the Giants.
Yeah.
But man, the Cowboys, 4 new starters, man, proven guys, and then the best defensive player in the draft, man. I can't say they didn't improve them all. That defense was terrible. So if you come like that, new DC, 4 new starters, top guy out of college, I think you improved the most.
Yeah, so I looked at this through the draft lens, and the team that I went with was the New York Giants. I think they had a phenomenal draft, man. Your main goal in the draft, especially in the early rounds, is to address positional needs, but also find guys that can come in and contribute from day one. I think they did find 4 starters in this draft, guys that can come in and compete for a starting spot. The first one is in the first round with their first pick or their 5th overall pick, Arvell Reese.
100%.
He's a stud. I think he's going to be a star in the NFL. Now, I'm curious to see how they use him and how they pair him up alongside, Burns and Thibodeau and Carter, but that's up to Denard Wilson to figure out the best way to maximize his potential. And what helps Arvell Reese is the versatility that he has. 327 snaps as an edge defender, 286 snaps as a linebacker in the box. So he can do both. They can use him in a multitude of ways. I think he'll be a day 1 starter. The next guy that I think will be a starter was our 10th overall pick, Francis Mauigoa.
For
and
sure.
his versatility as well. He can play guard. Although he started at tackle, he has the size and athleticism to move inside and play guard if they want to keep Andrew Thomas and Luminor at both tackles.
Yep.
He's great in run blocking. He's great in pass protection. And he's going to make Jackson Dart's life a lot easier.
He will.
Those are 2 starters right there.
Yep.
The 3rd starter, a guy that I think will compete at least for a starting spot, and we'll see him on the field in different packages, is Colton Hood. And when you watch his tape, he is a physical corner. And you said it, Skip. That's the definition of his play style, is a bully.
Yep.
When he plays press man, he gets his hands on receivers. And I hate that as a quarterback because that disrupts their route. And it also disrupts the timing of the play. And I have to automatically get off of him and go to my 2nd and 3rd receiver because he's already dead at the start. And he's also very physical in the run game. He's not afraid to be that D-gap defender if they're playing cover 2 to kind of chop inside and come make a play in the backfield. But the 4th guy,
that's a maybe starter right there.
Maybe. But the 4th guy that I think could be a starter and be a rotational guy, especially in Matt Nagy's offense, is Malachi Fields, the wide receiver from Notre Dame. And I do believe that because if you look at him statistically, has a ton of production, 2,500 yards and 16 touchdowns throughout his career, but they added the exact guy that they needed to add. This offseason, they went and got Darnell Mooney. They got Calvin Austin. They got those shorter, quicker guys that can play in the slot. They just needed a physical threat opposite of Malik Neighbors. Neighbors is going to get the majority of the attention when you're playing an opposing defense. He's going to get the double coverage. He's going to get, the man-to-man with the safety cheating to his side. You need a one-on-one player that can win on the backside like Malachi Fields is. He's 6'4", 225 pounds. He's great with his catch radius, but he's also one of the best 50-50 catchers in the draft this upcoming year. So I really believe they addressed the areas that they need to address. You could argue maybe 5 starters. If you look at their late round picks, Jack Kelly out of BYU, maybe not on defense, but he could be a special teams guy as well. That could come out there. Well, it might count 3 phases, but no, I think they did get a lot better in this draft. I would say that they were a team that improved the most throughout this past weekend, and I think they did add 4 guys that could potentially start this year for their team.
I agree with that, and more on Malachi Fields.
Yeah.
Every time I watch Notre Dame, they're a running football team because they got 2 first-round picks rotating at running back, right? And Malachi Fields didn't get that many targets, but at least twice a game that I would watch, he would have a highlight catch because he's 6'4" and a half.
Yeah.
And he's physical, and he's a long strider and a loper, so he's not a speed demon, but he looks covered and he's not covered.
No.
And he's going to be their second receiver to Malik.
I agree. I think
so.
I think he could be. He'll be their second receiver outside. Now, in the slot, I think Mooney or Calvin Austin might be more of a target, especially with the RPOs
So
they
when
run.
they go 12 personnel, it's going to be Fields and Neighbors.
I think it could be.
I bet money it don't.
Who do you think it's going to be?
It's going to be Slayton and Neighbors.
I don't know. I think
Or it's going to be Mooney and Neighbors.
Slayton and those guys.
Because Mooney play both. Mooney don't just play the slot.
He doesn't.
He play outside too.
He does.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
But with Matt Nagy, they run a ton of 11 personnel. They're going to live in that
Even with 11
RPO world,
personnel,
and West Coast offense, and they're
they
going to
deep.
So my question
Okay.
of the NFC East,
Yeah.
from last year's records to next year's, which team is going to win more games? Whose record is going to improve the most?
Well,
I mean, I think the Giants.
Giants,
I
I
do think the
would-
Giants.
I
But they
would
went
agree
4
with
last
you.
year. I think.
Yeah.
I think they
not
could
hard
get,
to win a little more than 4.
And you bring in John Harbaugh. A lot. The new thing nowadays.
How many
is
the Cowboys win?
Cowboys won
8
7.
or 7.
How many?
7, 9, and 1.
So they won
7, 9, and 1. And we just said we believe they can win 12 games, so they go up 5.
I said 11.
11. Okay. So was it
4 more wins.
extra games? So you believe the Giants will be 8 and something?
I think the Giants could potentially get to 10 wins. I think they could get double digit
Wow.
wins. I do. I believe that. Because right now, they have a lot of young core pieces in place on both sides of the football. They're building their roster.
They got to stay healthy.
With
What did they
So
do
young
to address the
pieces.
run
But
game?
also the biggest
What did
question.
they do to address the run game on defense?
They brought in Edmonds, Arvell Reese.
Who's the D lineman in the middle?
Are you saying
They
because
got
they
a lot
lost
of
Dexter
edge.
Lawrence?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why. That was another reason.
But
Arvell Reese and Edmonds, they can do all they if they don't have that up front to keep people off of them or to disrupt that. It
Agreed.
won't matter.
And it's very difficult.
And that's
nearly
my only
impossible
thing.
to
That's
replace.
my only thing because they drafted Reese, which I believe is talented, but they took him at 5.
But my biggest thing with them last year, Gerald, was they had Dexter Lawrence there and they still struggled in the run game. Dexter Lawrence would take the double
That's
team.
fine. I know,
They
but
could
the
pressure
scheme-
up, but what did they
the
not
scheme
have?
also
They didn't
completely
have a linebacker at the second level when Dexter Lawrence played two gaps and took on the
that's-
double team.
And that's what
to
I'm saying.
fill
So
and
how
tackle.
did they address
addressed
that? How?
By getting Arvell Reese, by getting Edmonds.
Who's more important, the guy right here or the guy right there?
I think they both are equally important.
Who's more important, the D tackle who everything starts and stops with him, or the guy behind him?
Okay, so if we say
Who was more important, Ray Lewis or Tony Siragusa?
Or Gerald McCoy.
or Gerald McCoy,
Yeah.
and
It
I'm
was Saragusa because
Are
he
you
kept
buying-
all the people off Ray.
Hey, a lot of people argue right there.
I'm gonna-
A lot of
I'm
people
gonna-
gonna say Ray.
Ask
it ain't
Ray.
matter.
Ask Ray how much Goose did for him.
Hey, and I'll take a backseat to this because you were one of the best defensive tackles to play the game. So I hear what you're saying. Just when I watched the Giants last year, Dexter Lawrence was doing his job. He was the third most double-team defensive tackle in the NFL. He was the first most the year before.
Right.
They still struggled to stop the run because they didn't have that second
I'm
level.
not disputing that. I'm
help them
saying,
make
but
the
what
play.
did they do to address it? They got Reese, which is that's fine. Reese is going to be a really.
But then
good
they got
player.
rid of Lawrence. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I hear you.
That's what I'm saying. So they like.
And then at 10,
So now we just sit there like, God dang, what do
I
we?
hear you. I hear you with that.
So that's why I would have. I'm gonna take Jordan Tyson at 5.
Mm-hmm.
Then you still at 10. You can still get your other guy, or you can still get Caleb Downs was still sitting there. You know what I'm saying? Like if I'm going, because you need somebody opposite neighbors. So at 5, I would have took Jordan Tyson.
See, but I don't think with Arvell Reese sitting at 5, he's too damn good to just say, all right, man, we're going to, that's a value pick right there. For a team that needs to address
value
defense.
pick, I agree with wholeheartedly. But remember when we was talking about like the best player in the draft, and we was saying Jeremiah Love because of what he is at his position and what he can. That's why I feel like Jordan Tyson, he come in, there's no question mark. We know who he is, plug and play. We just got to figure out how we going to draw it up for him. Arvell Reese is still a question mark, as talented as he is. So that's why I'm saying pick is fine, but if I'm the Giants, I'm taking Jordan Tyson right there. You still got all these options sitting at 10.
Jordan Tyson at 5 is pretty crazy.
You go get him at 5 right now.
But you
that's
don't,
a day one starter.
So is Arvell Reese. Arvell
Yeah,
Reese is a
but
day one
how,
starter.
though?
So is Francis Mauigoa. He's a day one
That's
starter
a day one
Right,
starter.
but where did they draft him?
at 10.
That's what I'm saying. He's still going to be a 10. But now we got Jordan Tyson
But you
and
don't-
him.
But that's all hindsight. They don't know if they take Jordan Tyson at 5, they're going to, if it was Caleb Downs, they're not going to be able to get the defensive player. There's no guarantee he's going to be available at 10. He ended up being available at 10. Now, a lot of people, Skip talked about with the mock, didn't think he would. But with their plan, it was clear. We just lost Dexter Lawrence. We've got to still address the front 7. We've got great edge rushers. Let's get a linebacker that can do both.
Yeah.
And then we'll go get a luxury pick, which is an offensive lineman that can help Jackson Dart and start at guard next year.
But remember when I said what they pick at 5, you know they're going to prioritize. You're going to see what they prioritize. And Harbaugh being a defensive guy, I said I'm pretty sure they're going to go defense.
And they should.
And,
I think they should.
The Giants did good, though. I just don't think they
cool with it.
improved
The most.
the most.
Well, because
You know what I'm
I
saying?
think me and you thought like everything,
Yeah,
and they kind of just did draft.
Yeah.
I'm
looked at it
thinking
through the
whole
draft lens.
offseason.
Yeah.
But to that point, if we want to talk about everything, they did just bring in John Harbaugh.
They did.
Yeah.
The trend
And
nowadays-
Likely,
Yeah.
and Edmonds.
Yeah.
But they lost Dexter Lawrence. That was
did.
just a major piece for me. That was the determining factor for me.
Well-
if they would have kept Dexter Lawrence and did all that, I probably would have said the Giants.
Yeah, I probably would have.
why isn't anybody criticizing the Giants for passing Caleb Downs twice? Because he's going to be a Hall of Famer. So
In
you
my
pass him
opinion,
twice.
it's
Am I right? Well, that's what you
That's
told
such
me.
a very-
They-
I'm just asking.
But I
Yes.
just said they could have. I just said they could have got him at 10. They still could have got him.
Okay, well, you could have
I
had him
was
at
confused they
5.
didn't
You
get him.
said he's the best
But
defensive player
remember
in the
when
draft.
I said last week my whole synopsis thing is at 5, I'm not taking Arvell Reese or Sonny Styles. I said I would have taken Caleb.
Some
Downs.
people want them workout warriors.
You know what I'm
Some
saying?
people want the
I
guy
would-
who
at
jumped
5,
45 and had a good
If
college
Bailey
career.
is off the board at 5, if I'm drafting a defensive player, I'm taking Caleb Downs.
Easy, me too.
I'm not
Okay,
taking
I
Reese
didn't hear-
or Sonny
Wait,
Styles.
so you would take Caleb Downs over Jordan Tyson at 5, you're saying?
No, if I'm taking a defensive
had to
player.
take defense.
Yeah, I'm taking if Bailey's off the board.
Yeah.
And now I know I want defense.
And you
At
got
5,
Reese, Tyson, and Downs sitting there.
No. If I'm at 5, if I'm picking a guy, I'm taking Jordan Tyson.
Okay.
Because I feel like Caleb Downs will be there.
But you're saying
But if I'm
defense
taking
specific.
defense,
Okay,
I'm
gotcha.
going to get Caleb Downs at 5.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I asked the chat about who improved most from the draft, not full offseason, and they went with the Cowboys. So there is that.
They like
By the way, real
A lot of
quick
people
point.
like Malachi Lawrence.
Yeah.
Okay. Speaking of that podcast we opened the show with, the Bleacher Report one.
Yeah.
Remember, Malik Neighbors that night on that podcast questioned why the Giants
Took Arvell
took
Reese.
Arvell, saying, "What is he?" Well, we
Who
have
did,
Where we gonna
who did he
play
say
him
he
at?
wanted?
Yeah.
Caleb Downs. I'm telling you.
John
He-
Harbaugh actually responded to
and
that.
he did, and he said, "I'm going to show him
Yeah.
what."
He said
what
he
we
showed
can
him.
do."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's my whole point right
Yeah.
there is obviously Malik Neighbors isn't in the meeting room with Denard
Okay.
Wilson and John Harbaugh and the decision makers because they're not going to draft a guy
Yeah.
5th overall just off of value. They're drafting him because they have a plan for him
Right.
and they know how he's going to fit in their scheme. It's just up to them to maximize his potential, and I think they will.
All right, let's move on to Aqib's favorite subject. Let's talk about the AFC West because last year was the first time since your guys' Super Bowl season that you guys actually won the AFC West. So, but everybody knows it's really hard to stay on top in this league. So the Raiders made some big move in free agency. Obviously, they did land Fernando Mendoza during the draft, and they got safety trade end Stukes, and then edge Keyron Crawford, and then corner Jermod McCoy, who you really wanted. Obviously, the knee thing is an issue, but in the draft, so that was looking pretty nice too. I like what the Raiders did, and then the Chiefs used their 2 first-round picks to snag Mansour Delane, and then D-tackle Peter Woods in the round 2. Then they picked first-team All-Pro edge R. Mason Thomas.
Yes.
Also killed it this weekend. So Aqib, how much should the Broncos fear the Chiefs and the Raiders after the draft? I think your division just got a whole lot harder.
Kinsey.
Lead, go ahead, man.
Fear is crazy.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Come
We
on.
are the big dogs
Give
in
me
the
a little.
AFC West. Like we are the team who's returning about 20 starters. You know what I'm saying? We are the team who drafted Jalen Waddle first round. You know what I'm saying? We are the team who's bringing back our entire defense. And we drafted, a guy from A&M to be a depth player for us on the D-line. And Jonah Coleman, the running back we drafted, I'm telling you, you better watch out for him because he's a tackle-breaking machine. He's 5'8", 220. He's just a tough tackle, period. So JK ain't been able to stay healthy. If he go down this year, we got a great plan for that. I promise you that. But with that being said, we don't fear nobody. That's just not part of our day. But the Chiefs and the Raiders, they both did get better. They did get better, man. The Chiefs should be able to run the ball better. They O-line to be healthy. They problem last year was health to me. So they O-line to be healthy. They got one of the top running backs in the league. You bring Eric Bieniemy in, they should be able to run the ball better. They have all their wideouts healthy at the beginning of the year. That's going to make them better just right there alone. So they got better. I love what Vegas is doing. They had an excellent offseason, a great offseason. Then you add Stoops the ball hawk and McCoy the ball hawk to that defense. So I love what they doing. They like a year or two away. 2027, 2028, they'll be ready to go. You know what I'm saying? I think that's gonna be their window. But right now, man, it's our time. It's our time. They fear us. If anything, they fear us. You know what I'm saying? So fear is just not part of Denver Day, man. We don't play like that. So we looking forward to it.
I don't have a lot to add to that. That's why when
You
I
boys
read.
have just
That's
been-
why when I read. That's why when I read it, I'm like, fear.
come on now.
What do you always say draft picks are? Question marks.
Question marks.
Question marks.
What is
question
Denver? They ain't no question marks. And then they brought in their first round pick, Jalen Waddle. Like they Lieb said it all, man.
We're in the
Like,
AFC chip, man. We
Yeah.
bringing back our whole organization is here.
You guys want to cuddle today? You guys
No,
on the same page with
I'm just saying.
everything?
So you seen Denver have a rookie quarterback and make the playoffs. Okay, and we said, okay, let's see what they can do. Defense was legit. Okay, top 2 or 3 in that season. Last year, you say they was number 1, but you seen the growth and experience that they gained from making it to the playoffs. Went all the way to the AFC Championship and was an injury away from being in the Super Bowl. So they stay healthy and they got better on offense. And then you got these other teams that drafted, but this team is bringing everybody else back with more experience. They went in the first round. They took that all the way to the AFC Championship. Imagine what they can do this year.
We got the best O-line in football.
They not. Yeah, they not fair.
Everything is in place, man.
They not fair now.
We lacking no camaraderie in Denver.
Cody, what do you think? Now, these boys are on the little...
I agree. I think fear is a strong word. I don't think anybody fears anybody in the NFL. But I will say worry. I think Denver should be very worried about both of those teams. Kansas City right now and then Las Vegas in the future. But if you look at Kansas City, I thought they had a very good draft. They went out and addressed positional needs. They got Dwayne. They moved up. A lot of people criticized them for trading up, said they didn't need to. Bullshit. If there's a guy you know you want is going to improve your football team,
get him.
do what you have to do to improve that. They had to replace Trent McDuffie. They had to replace Jalen Watson, who are now both with the Rams. They did just that. I really like R. Mason, man. I think he's a good player. I think he's going to be a lot better than people predicted him
I think Peter
to be in
Woods
the
is the
NFL.
best D tackle in the draft, too.
Yeah, Peter Woods, too, up front.
He's legit.
Clemson.
I think people underestimate his athleticism, his ability to rush.
And who does he get to learn from? One of the best to ever do it, in Chris Jones. Spags. Spags is going to find a way to utilize him. The one guy, though, on this draft, my sleeper pick for Kansas City, Emmett Johnson from Nebraska, man. I watched him play last year. I watched a lot of his games. He is going to be a stud in the NFL. I know they got Kenneth Walker. He'll be their number 1 guy. But right behind him in that offense is going to be Emmett Johnson. He's a good football player, and I think he's going to make a lot of plays for them. And then when you look at, and then the other reason that I say that teams still have to worry about Kansas City is because they got stability at the 2 most important positions within their organization, and that's head coach and quarterback. Anytime that you have Andy Reid as your head coach and your leader, and you have a healthy Patrick Mahomes at quarterback, you're always going to be in contention to win it all, and they still have both of those guys. They also, the last 7 years, have had a top 10 defense, 5 of those years under Spags, so it's the defense that does it as well. It's going to take a lot more than 1 down season filled with injuries and 8 one-score losses for people to stop worrying about Kansas City. But the team that I really like and that I'm focused on right now is Las Vegas, man. I really like what they're building right now. If I'm a Las Vegas Raiders fan, I am feeling great about the direction of my organization under John Spytek, under Clint Kubiak, with Tom Brady as well being in that building. They hire a great head coach in Kubiak. They do a great job in this offseason in free agency, adding a lot of key pieces on both sides of the ball, young, talented players that could be key pieces for a long time. And then in the draft, they go get their franchise quarterback in Fernando Mendoza and then continue to make great picks the next 2 days as well. So I think Las Vegas is still a year or 2 away.
They are.
But I wouldn't be surprised this year, Aqib, if they steal a couple divisional games. Maybe
It won't
against
be
Denver.
against Denver.
You don't think so?
That O-line ain't quite there yet.
Man, I
You know
think
what I'm saying?
they
got
could
the bomb, but that O-line ain't quite there
it's
yet.
like knock us off our square.
I said worry. I
They O-line ain't quite there
Worry
yet.
would be, I'm worried they can knock us off our square. They not worried about that.
Man,
And the Chiefs gonna be the Chiefs.
I think Las Vegas will steal a couple divisional games. I think they can. They're capable of getting one from each team in the division. Now, yeah, Denver's obviously the top, even though I think the Chargers are my favorite to win the AFC West next year.
Yeah, but Cody, we talking about winning the AFC West.
Yeah.
The Chargers.
Not win a couple games, win the West.
You picked the Chargers last year too?
No.
Oh.
Last year, I picked Kansas City.
You picked
Picking the
Kansas City?
Chargers.
Yeah, preseason.
Wow.
So you
But
was dead ass
We're gonna
wrong
dive
last
into
year.
that.
Hey, we did a topic earlier already about this. But no, I do think Las Vegas is a year or two away, but I think they're going to surprise some people. And win
Nah, they
some
are.
games
They
this year.
looking
I think
good.
they'll steal a couple
Yeah.
AFC
They looking
West.
good. They
The
know
whole
what's
division,
coming.
I just think, moved up.
Yeah.
So back to your operative word, fear.
Yeah.
He won't admit this, but deep down in the recesses of his Broncos-loving psyche, he fears the Kansas City Chiefs.
How
you
can
still
you not?
do. You just fear them. I hear it in your voice. Mahomes is still there. Kelsey's still there. Big Red is still there. Spags is still there. And you fear them because they've proven they should be feared, right?
Right.
Okay? And I think
thing.
you just do. And they did have a really good draft.
They did.
Yeah.
You just look at this and you say, wait a second. You love Monsieur Delane, right?
He a starter.
Will he step right in and start day one?
He will.
Okay. And
The other
you
ones
love
are
Peter
backups.
Woods. And
He's
he'll-
not gonna step in and start.
who?
Peter Woods.
I think he ain't gonna be a starting nose guard
Well, I
for
don't
sure.
know.
He ain't gonna take Chris Jones' spot, but
you know, this is underdogs. I just put the money where my mouth is.
But when you
That's
have a
what I
great
do.
roster like Kansas City has, you don't need necessarily
That's what I'm
starters. You
saying.
need
So
contributors.
So why would we not gonna fear no guys they coming in as backups? He's gonna be a backup. R. Mason, good as he is, guess what he gonna be? A backup.
No, he won't. He'll be a rotational rusher. He just
That's
will.
a backup, Skip.
Okay.
A rotational rusher is a backup.
Hey, that's a
Well,
nice
I
way
mean,
of saying
Hey,
it, though.
that's what I'm saying. Well, Monday
Okay,
Night
will-
Football,
will-
if
will he
they
be
don't
a-
announce you are a backup. Woods and R. Mason, they'd be backups.
Okay,
Why would
will
we
R.
worry about
Mason
backups?
have 6 or 7 sacks this year? I bet he does. Because they'll put him out in that wide 9, split him out,
Yeah.
and make him D
gonna
Ford,
rush well.
you know? Huh?
he's gonna rush well. Yeah.
Oh, God, he's just...
We definitely ain't fearing no backups. So
Okay.
so you
Well,
could
he's not
say
a
Delane
backup.
and then just leave it at that. Them other guys ain't starting.
Yeah. And then quickly to your point about the Chargers. So I watched them draft 4 offensive linemen because Justin Herbert went down a career high 54 times last year. So I think Slater, when he come back, will Alt be back?
Alt,
will they?
yeah.
Okay.
Now you got Mike McDaniel calling the offense.
Okay. And you drafted 4 new guys, so you're doing what the Browns are doing. They're just restock. They're going to be double at each position. You know, backup. They're going to be stacked across the offensive line, and they're just saying, Justin Herbert, you fear him at all? I don't know. Maybe you don't. I'm not the biggest fan, but you're laughing at him. Aqib
I'm
said-
laughing at
Skip,
the fear.
you got to use different words than
I'm
fear.
laughing
You
at
said
the fear,
that
bro.
Mike
Like,
McDaniel's caught. You didn't even bring up the Chargers.
Huh?
You didn't even bring
Yes,
up the
yeah,
Chargers.
Chargers weren't in the topic. I didn't.
Yeah.
they know we don't fear the Chargers, I guess. Like,
Okay. And then
they just know we don't fear them.
Didn't the Chargers beat you guys last year, though?
Yeah, they did.
Hey.
On
They
some
did.
Wookiee flag, field goal shit.
And then back to the Raiders. If we're back to the question you asked about the NFC East, who improved the most? Well,
Yeah.
well, obviously the Raiders did because
yeah.
they had the
Yeah.
first pick in the draft, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. If Kirk Cousins starts every game next year, which I think he will. I'm going with what they've said and what he said. He says if it's a competition, he's trying to tell you, I'm going to win the competition. Well, if he does start all the way, they're going to win 9 games because they just got too much talent. I agree the offensive line could be suspect and you could get them there, but talent is spilling over everywhere because they won the offseason. They got the best center in football, right?
And that's gonna, and you know what, Skip?
Okay.
That's so important because he's gonna put them in the right
Okay.
position pre-snap and make the right calls. That's half the battle alone.
But he
Okay.
can't block.
He can't, but he needs.
Can't block the edges.
No.
But he's got to know
And
the
the four
A-blocks and
techniques.
where to send the O-line. There was a lot of unblocked guys last year when you watched the film. That's why Ashton Jinty struggled. He's going to correct a lot of those pre-snap mistakes.
Okay, all right. And then they got Jalen Naylor. I'm telling you, he is really good. He jumped off my screen every time I watched the Vikings, and they went and got him. And then on defense, they go Quay Walker and Nakobe Dean and Kwity Paye. I mean, these guys can play. You know, they're going to get better faster. And then I brought up a week ago, Traden Stukes. So they steal him in the second round. And the infamous quote from the Adam Schefter piece last week was, he quoted some GM as saying that Traden Stukes is going to be better than Caleb Downs. That's what the guy, and you can say he should be fired for that comment, but that's what he said because of ball production, ball skills, anticipation.
He had like 6 or 7 picks.
Yeah, okay. But
Caleb Downs had like 4, so that's
Okay.
a lot of production.
All right. Well, we'll see.
What the fuck?
And then They got Jamad McCoy. They traded up to the top of the 4th round and got him. And
That was
what if his knee? Remember, he missed a whole season with that knee. What if it's okay? What if he can play? You don't think he'll step in and start playing?
I think he
And
will.
what if he can't?
I think he'll definitely step in and start for him. And I think his knee going to be straight.
All right, and then finally, you mentioned him, your 4th round running back. He's a load.
Going to be a problem.
He's a downhill load because he runs so low and so powerful, and it's just when I watched, he just looked
From
nasty
Arkansas?
to me, huh?
Washington.
From Arkansas, yeah.
No. I'm talking. That's
Jonah Coleman.
That's for
Jonah
them.
Coleman.
But the Arkansas kid, the Raiders stole in the 4th round.
Yeah. That's what I
because
thought you were talking about. He
Mike
played-
Washington Jr.
Oh, yeah. He's good.
Listen, Mike Washington Jr. goes, what's he weigh? 6'1", 223. He ran 4.33. And he and Taylor Green was why I kept watching Arkansas
Man,
last year,
52.
because they were just fun to watch. And they didn't have much offensive line. But if there's a crack for this kid, he is a home run hitter because he can flat fly.
Yeah.
And the Raiders got him, and he and Genty, maybe he gets some snaps, as a change of pace. I don't know.
He's going to be on the bench.
Well, we'll see.
Well, you
But-
saw how much Kubiak used, Charbonnet and
Yeah,
Walker
that's
last-
right. Yeah.
Y'all
right.
Y'all making. Okay.
Y'all keep naming
Y'all
all these
just
bench
making
players.
all these. Okay. You said the Raiders are 1 or 2 years away. Right?
From being legit
Yeah.
AFC contender.
Okay, we're talking about next year. All right, so the Raiders out of there. We didn't even bring up the Chargers.
Gerald's on one.
What has been the strength of Kansas City's team the last 3-4 years? Has it been defense?
It's
And
been
defense.
defense.
Okay, so the defense got better?
Got better.
So the offense did what?
The defense ain't really get better.
Because they traded their.
The
So-
defense,
so wait,
the
I'm
defense,
just
the
saying.
defense replaced what they lost.
There-
Yes, that's
okay,
what I'm
there you
saying.
go.
So
That's
Lee,
That ain't
so
getting
if we
better.
say-
But they
so-
still have
So Lee,
Stag,
let's
who-
say they stagnant. They just stayed the same. What changed?
Yeah, but that's what the Chiefs do, though. We talked about it before. They don't pay corners.
Yeah.
They draft
And
guys,
that's fine.
plug and play
But
them,
why
and still
should
get better.
the
and stay
Broncos
the-
be worried if nothing changed? What changed?
Because they still
right guy.
have Andy Reid. They still have Patrick Mahomes. They brought
But
in
why
Kenneth
should they
Walker.
be worried?
So we
Do
was
you know
worried
why the
last
Chiefs?
year.
You know why the Chiefs have been looking like normal? It's because people don't fear them no more. That's what I'm saying.
Man,
Understanding who a team is and fearing them is
I never
two
said
different
fear,
things.
though. I just said worried. Yeah, they should be worried. about
Understanding who a team is and
Chiefs are-
being worried
Chiefs are-
is two different things.
The Chiefs are average outside. That's why we don't fear them. They are average outside, bro. We don't fear Worthy or Thurgood. What's his name? I don't even know bro name.
Oh, Taekwon
Thornton. Thurgood.
Rasheed Rice?
Come on, bro. We don't fear them. Rasheed is inside. He is an inside player. He don't go
You're
outside.
talking about Z and X?
Yes, outside receivers, bro. We put Moss and Surtain and we let them rock and we jam this middle versus the Chiefs. That's why we so good against them
And
boys.
Kelsey is a
We
legend.
dominate
We
them, bro.
understand that. We understand Kelsey's a legend, but he
Leave
is
him
where he
backside
is
by
right
himself, we
now.
gonna leave a corner
The
on.
biggest
Time is
issue.
done.
The biggest issue with Kansas City last year was
Running the ball.
couldn't run the ball. But they addressed that. They went and got Kenneth Walker. This Emmett Johnson kid, man, he had 1,400 yards
They
and
went and got
12
Eric
touchdowns
Bieniemy.
last year. And they got Eric Bieniemy to come back and say, hey, we need to fix this shit because Patrick Mahomes is our leading rusher multiple times last year, and he's going into year 10, and he can't keep doing that. We don't want him to run around
That's
and go
the
take
best
hits.
thing they did
We
the
got to be
whole
able to
offseason.
turn around
So
and hand the
should we
football.
understand that Kansas City, we understand they still Kansas City,
Yeah.
or should we be worried? That's
Yes.
the question. Should we be worried about, or should we just know, hey,
Or
listen.
should they be worried about us?
Yes. Agree.
Yes.
If the question was,
So
should-
everybody should just be worried about everybody.
in the division, yes. In the AFC,
Worried?
I
Sure.
think the AFC West will have 3 playoff teams next year. I think the Chargers, the
AFC
Broncos,
tough now.
and the Chiefs are
AFC,
all
yeah,
capable
that's
of
fair.
going
Yeah,
to the
that's a
playoff.
fair
If we're
assumption.
talking about different divisions, no, I wouldn't say each team should be worried.
the North
about,
not gonna have 3.
We'll see. They could.
I'm just saying, like,
I'm
we,
just saying these teams are capable of having at least 2, multiple teams in their division go to the playoffs. Yes, you should be worried about the other teams in your conference. Everybody's getting better, man.
Listen, I always, Kansas City's just going, as long as Andy Reid and 15 is there,
That's what I just
they
said.
always going to be
Exactly.
contenders.
That's what I said.
But that don't mean we should be worried. We just understand they're one of the teams we got to go through. They don't make you worry. It's just like if you're great at what you do,
No, fuck
you're
worry.
great. Like
Fuck worried. The question
was fear.
Do we fear?
I said no. And nobody's
what are we
fearing-
talking about?
We don't
here?
fear anybody, but yes,
I wouldn't
What are we talking about
concerned,
here?
worried,
Skip?
focused, prioritizing. I'm focusing on the teams that are in my conference or in my division because that's who I got to go through to get to the playoffs. Yes, you should worry about these teams that are getting better.
No, Cody, listen, I didn't win much, but individually.
I didn't either, bro.
But individually.
I did.
Yeah, you
Individually, I was pretty decent. And I went against a lot of all-pro offensive linemen. I was never worried about none of them because I was great. I understood he's an all-pro, so I got a tough day ahead of me, so I need to make sure but I'm not worried about nobody. When you are the top of the top, you're not worried about nobody. You understand Kansas City's Kansas City.
Understand. There you
Josh
go.
Allen's still somewhere floating. Lamar gonna shake back. All these people, whatever. We ain't worried about nothing because we are us.
Okay, how about this? Are you thinking about them? Are you focused on, hey, we
They're
got
one
to
of the
prioritize
contenders
beating
we're
the
going to
Chiefs?
have to go through.
All right, we found out these big, strong, masculine men don't fear.
I got one last point back to you and your Broncos. We didn't really talk about what they did and didn't do. So they traded the 30th overall pick for Jalen Waddle.
Yeah.
And more, but they did trade a late first round pick. So you could have sat home, you could have stayed there, and you could have taken Denzel Boston with that pick.
We ain't want him.
Okay? And he's a better Cortland Sutton to me. He's just as big and a little faster, a little more of a red zone problem. You know,
I understand that.
Yeah.
We don't want two Cortland Sutton.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
We already got the real Cortland Sutton.
So-
we don't need the
Here's a quote I
Version
read
of it.
recently in The Athletic. It's one of your favorite anonymous quotes from an NFL GM, but he says, Denver wants to give Bo Nix his best chance with a new play caller, so take your shot. Talking about adding Waddle. But you'd better know some of his flaws. Availability is a concern, and Waddle does not exactly exude toughness. Maybe your culture changes that. Okay, just for the record, once Tyreek went down in Miami, if you look hard at these numbers, and I got them right here, but I won't bore you with the numbers, Jalen Waddle got exposed. He started to disappear. He dropped down to an average of 5 catches for 47 yards because he was clearly feeding off as the clear-cut number 2, Tyreek. And if you're expecting him to come in and just change your life as your new number 1,
Right.
I'm not sure he'll be that guy.
He lacks toughness,
what happened?
right?
What happened at
He lacks
quarterback?
toughness,
Yeah,
but
but
he
he
missed,
played-
but he missed 7 games in 5 years. That's not tough. Is that not tough?
And their quarterbacks.
What happened
And then he played-
why are we conveniently leaving out what happened
I'll
at
tell you
quarterback
right now,
in Miami?
Yeah.
It was Tua.
But then he
It's a
played in the
very
system where did the
reliant
ball
position.
get thrown for the Rams, the Niners? Where is the majority of their passes? Just
Okay.
where is it, Cody?
In the inside.
Right in the bang routes. If you a receiver in one of them, you tough as shit if you play in that system because you're gonna run bang route after bang route right across that middle. So I don't see how he's not tough. He run across the middle.
And I
He
can show
missed
you
7
clips
games
of him
in 5
doing it.
years. How the fuck is he not tough? So I don't get it.
And to your point,
That's why
the
Buddy ain't
quarterbacks,
put his name on it.
I'll tell you right now, it was Tua, Tim Boyle, Skylar Thompson, Tyler
Yes.
Huntley, Quinn Ewers. Like there were
Quinn
guys that there was no
Who's really
stability
gonna
at
sell?
quarterback.
And when
Yeah,
Tyreek
Waddle.
go down, of course your numbers gonna go down because now I'm the number 1 guy.
Yeah.
Now I get the safety lean to my side. Now the coverage rolls to my side. So your numbers are gonna go down. That's part of football.
All right, okay, enough about these.
Bringing it up. I just
One down, Lynn. All right, enough about the good drafts that's going on. We've been talking about that this whole show. I feel like let's talk about a trash draft. The Rams. I think they
Gosh.
shocked everybody. I'm obviously not a Rams fan or supporter, but the Rams decided to go with Ty Simpson, an interesting pick. But I also want to put up with the rest of their selections, and we're going to talk about this. So I'm not going to read these off, but I do want to point out in round 2 they went with Ohio State tight end Max Clare after taking a tight end in the 2nd round just last year. Okay, this is interesting
They
because
got 5 tight ends on their roster.
Yeah.
6 now.
Like,
I think
come
they got
on, bro.
6 now.
your first 2 picks are probably not even going to play much next year. Very confusing. So I got to know, Gerald, did the Rams have the worst draft?
They had the most confusing draft. You have a small window to win. You have a very small window to win. And Matthew Stafford had an MVP season. And you had a lot of need where you was missing certain stuff. You know, you couldn't field a punt. There was a lot of things that need to be addressed. So in the first round, you go get a quarterback that ain't no telling when he go see the field. And then you got 17 tight ends. I don't understand it. I don't know what the mindset behind it was. Sean McVay clearly didn't, because you can see it all. Like, he couldn't hide how he felt about the draft. He tried his best to, keep a straight face and, oh, yeah, we can't wait to get you here. But you could clearly see he was like, man, what the heck are we doing? Cody just said it.
Same page.
Everybody's getting better.
Yeah.
Everybody's getting better. And this draft, I just don't see where the improvement happened. So it's definitely the most confusing draft. I don't know if it was the worst. You can say it was the worst, but I don't get it.
Definitely the worst.
I was looking like, Rams, what the heck are y'all doing?
I'm like,
Very
bro,
confusing.
which one of these guys is going to help them this year?
That's
Like, not one of these guys going to help them. Maybe if some injuries happen, Max Clare may get in the game. If tight end number 1, 2, and 3 go down, you know what I'm saying? Ty Simpson, he probably going to be the third quarterback. He got to beat out Stetson to be number 2.
He does.
They drafted him to compete for number 2. Like Keegan Tross, I don't know, maybe they're going to plug him in.
He's played guard, he's played
Yeah.
tackle.
Maybe they're going to let him
That might
start
help a
for
little
Rob
bit.
Havenstein. You know what I'm saying?
He could compete maybe for tackle, yeah.
Maybe
Could.
C.J. Daniels, maybe he'd be
Could,
the
yeah.
third
Could, should,
receiver. But I don't know. It was just so much that they could have done. They could have said Monroe Freeling with the first round. Then you got a right tackle who's going to come in and start. They could have said Mekhi Lemon with the first round.
could have.
And you got a punt returner and a third
Yep.
receiver. And Devontae turning 34. So I know I got a future starting receiver.
Thank you.
They could have said Concepcion.
KC could have
You know
been
what I'm saying?
13.
That's the same. A punt
Bro, I was
returner.
for sure they was getting
It also
KC.
could
I thought so
They could have
too.
said
traded back.
But
They could
I
have
am
said
mad
traded
about
back.
it.
They could have
get
said
more-
Kenyon Sadiq. Now, if that say Kenyon Sadiq with my first round, I'm saying shit. Well, maybe he gonna come in and be one of these.
Well, they're probably going to get rid of someone then, yeah.
Exactly, he gonna come in and be one of your tight ends in a rotation. But I don't know. I feel like he's a lot better than Max Clare. I don't know.
Yeah.
It definitely was the worst draft to me. But I mean, when you got a good team like the Rams, you don't need much. You don't need much, man. So maybe these guys, they was drafting for some future guys, and I don't really get it. But hey, to me, they definitely drew the worst draft card for me, for sure.
Okay.
It's not even close.
Yeah, I think they had, on paper, the worst draft this year. You could argue maybe the Jacksonville Jaguars as well are in contention for that. But, yeah, I pay close attention to Jacksonville since I've been there before. But, no, I would say the Rams had the worst draft this year, and I'm with you, man. You draft a quarterback 13th overall that most likely won't even play for at least the next 2 to 3 years when you're in your win-now window. Now, I know Stafford is getting towards the end of the career, and you want to prepare for that before you get into panic mode. You don't have a guy to plan for, but right now I just didn't think it was the right time to make that decision. Go get someone that can help you win this year and address some positional needs. Tight end with Max Clare, I'm with you. They already had 5 on their roster. They drafted Terrence Ferguson last year in the second round. Paired him up with Colby Parkinson, paired him up with Tyler Higbee. So they've got multiple guys there. I know Sean McVay runs a lot of 13 personnel and likes to utilize the tight ends, but they're already set. They didn't need to add another one. That wasn't a positional need for them. And then the Tross kid, I do think will have somewhat of an impact this year. We see it every year where offensive linemen go down. He's played guard, he's played tackle. He is a 7th-year senior, and he's 25 years old. So I don't know how long he's going to play in the NFL, but he's a guy that has a lot of experience at multiple positions, so he could contribute. But I'm with you. But the reason that I feel like the Rams, aren't too concerned with this draft is because where they are. They already have one of the best rosters in the NFL, and really they addressed the positional needs they had this offseason.
Yep.
They went out and addressed the cornerback position. They traded for Trent McDuffie and then extended him. And then they also got Jalen Watson to pair him up opposite of him. So they felt like they already got better. These were just luxury picks,
Exactly.
guys that we think could be future starters for us or contribute in the future. So I'm fine with that, man. I think Les Snead and Sean McVay have done a phenomenal job of building this roster already to where even though they had the worst draft, it's not going to hurt them.
Right.
So after the first round, I thought Tennessee was on its way to having the worst draft with Carnell Tate at 4, way too high, and Keldrick Falk at 31.
really out on
They
that.
traded up for him, and I don't get it. But then they took Anthony Hill in the second round, and I know we both, he's a football player, is what he is, a tackling machine. So saved yourself there, redeemed yourself. And I'm with you guys. The harder I look at the Rams draft, the worse it gets. And it's so rare, like you just said, it's so hard to win a championship in this league. It's just hard. Maybe you don't think it's hard because everywhere you went, it just worked, right? It just
I don't know. I don't see
Just
what's
you.
so hard about
Yeah, I
it.
know.
Oh my
got it.
God.
I just studied that tape. You know what I'm saying? Hey,
But you know what? It's really hard. It's the greatest league in the world, and there are 32 teams that keep, because of the reverse order draft, and they just get better and better, and they just keep clawing at you from below. And the Rams were the betting favorite going into the draft. They're the team favored to win next year's Super Bowl for all the reasons you just detailed. And they had the 13th overall pick. It doesn't happen.
Right.
Where God, the NFL gods is saying, they're just saying, here,
take another player.
you get
Take a
another
Super Bowl
one.
this year.
Take another player.
You can make it prohibitive favorite here. You can take Monroe Freeling, and he can step in and fix your offensive line. You can take Blake Miller, whoever you love, whoever's still sitting there that you love the most. You take one of them. Take Mekhi Lemon.
They could have took Reuben Bain.
You could take Reuben Bain. You just say, we even got better now. For next year, we just got that much better, incrementally better. And with Ty Simpson, from what I saw of Stetson Bennett, I'm just not sure he's better than Stetson Bennett. I watched Stetson Bennett play 2 national championship games in which he was the MVP that they won, and he's pretty good. He's not quite as big as Ty Simpson, who's no giant, and yet, unless you tell me that Ty Simpson's going to come in and win 5 games next year while Matt's hurt, he's down for a while, that's the only way you can justify this. But I'm with you. I said it. I know Les Snead tried to do damage control and said, no, Sean and I are in lockstep. You know, he was right there with me, and he was on board with the Ty Simpson pick. I didn't see on board. I'm with you. I think he was just...
He was trying to save face. Sean was like, yeah, all right, man.
See, I think he was doing it out of respect to Matthew Stafford.
Well,
He
maybe.
didn't want to
You
sit there
said
and
that.
praise it. We just got your
Okay,
replacement.
I got it. But was
more
he
respect
completely
to
on
Matthew
board
Stafford.
with taking Ty Simpson? Did he love
Yes.
Ty Simpson?
I don't know if he loves him.
Hell no.
They're not making that pick, Skip, if Sean
Sean
McVay's
ain't
not
give a
on
damn who they
board.
drafted.
Yeah, but Sean McVay has changed life in Los Angeles since he's taken over. They had 8 winning seasons in the last 9 years. They've gone to the playoffs 7 times. They've gone to 2 Super Bowls, and they've won 1 of them. Les Snead is not making that decision without approval from Sean McVay. He might not be the driving force in getting Ty Simpson, but I guarantee you Sean McVay had a lot of input and said, yes, I can win with this guy once Matthew is gone, whenever he decides to retire.
To sort of reconcile that Ty
Sean ain't
Simpson...
say that.
You don't think Sean McVay had any input in that?
He might have had some input, but he ain't say, yes, I could win. When he's done, I could win with... Nah, he ain't say that.
You're telling me the guy that has led you to 2 Super Bowls and he's won 1 of them, who's the best offensive-minded coach in the NFL.
Exactly what I'm telling you.
You don't think he had a lot of input in this
with
decision?
2 top 10 quarterbacks.
I'm telling you, he didn't say...
He did it with 2 top 10 quarterbacks. And Ty Simpson, I don't see being.
Yeah.
But we don't know. They're question marks. And I'm with you. I don't mind the decision of taking a quarterback there because you want to plan for the future. Why do teams fall out of their Super Bowl
I don't even think he was the second best quarterback in the draft.
But I agree with you. I do think it was a reach with who they took. I'm not a big fan of them taking Ty at 13, but I do understand the logic of taking a quarterback. But all of that is a moot point when it comes to, was Sean McVay involved in this decision? He had to have.
I mean, they had to tell him.
A world where
So he
wasn't.
couldn't have been going back and forth like, man, we can do this. And he like, I like this guy. I like to do this. Man, we're going to take this guy. All right, it's your shit.
Right.
Go ahead.
If that happened, yeah, and it very well could have. If that
Does
happened,
that happen in Dallas?
Did that ever happen?
He talking this, and then Jerry like, man, pick what I want.
Yeah.
Pick it.
Jerry's
You
like,
see what I'm saying?
Shut up.
I'm talking.
Shut up, man. I'm picking him.
I'm talking coach and position specific. Sean McVay is the best offensive-minded coach in the NFL.
I'm not saying he's not.
He can make. We've seen what he's done with multiple quarterbacks, even when guys go down, how he can help them improve. Shit, he helped Baker Mayfield, who's a good player, win on a Thursday night after 2 days of prep because he can build a game plan for his guys. I just think it would be a huge mistake, and I find it hard to believe that Les Snead didn't get Sean McVay on board with this pick. He might have not been the driving force saying, hey, let's go.
He might have been, but I just seen numerous Sean McVay interviews, him talking all that. That wasn't it.
I think that was respect to Matthew Stafford, though.
Cody, did Sean McVay personally work out Ty Simpson or have dinner with Ty Simpson?
And I didn't like that, Skip. I said that on Friday after
He'd
the
never
first round.
spoken to him.
I don't like
That's what I'm saying.
that.
So it's like you ain't got to do nothing out of respect of Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford. He know he good.
He said, let's make history, coach.
Yeah.
He said, yeah.
Yeah.
Have a
No,
good enjoy the night.
It's like, yeah.
If they really wanted Ty Simpson, unless they heard some other stuff from other teams, why not trade back with a team? And
Exactly.
You know,
That's
Taking
what
him
I
at 13.
said.
Nobody else is taking him.
But that's my whole point. I don't mind them planning for the future at the quarterback because they're in a great position with their roster to where they don't necessarily need guys right now. It's just who they took and where they took them.
They don't like none of these It's finna be at least 7, 8 quarterbacks next year. Am I right?
But
they don't like none of them.
But see, there's a standard in Los Angeles where they don't ever anticipate being in a position to draft those guys.
But you could.
ever
But you
again.
can't. All right, we could draft Ruben Bain, right?
Yep.
And then we'll see what Ruben Bain do, right? And then shit. Okay, now we got
trade
Verse,
him.
Young, and Ruben Bain. I could get a first-round pick like that. And get me another quarterback.
Or you're
that's
saying
perfect plan.
trade and get a guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
I would take
would you
the
not
best
give?
guy
Would you
in
not
the
get a
league.
first-round pick
Yes.
for Young?
Yes.
He got 7 sacks, 8 sacks, 12 sacks. I ain't gonna get a first-round pick for him.
Yeah.
That's a young edge.
And they
He
most
finna get
likely
paid.
won't be able to pay all these guys.
Like, come on, bro. Come on. That's easy work. I ain't no GM, but I'm looking at it like shit. That's a first-round pick right there.
Yep.
If I need a first-round pick, a quarterback, I'm getting it right there.
And I hear what you're saying, but
Like,
their
that's-
logic was obviously like, let's go get a guy in the first round.
then
Their
build
logic
it.
was,
Who
nigga, we
cares what the
cool.
logic
Play-
was?
and
It
then
was
you
done.
build it.
Play out a
shit.
rookie quarterback deal.
Tay about to be done soon. You
Tay
go
finna
get-
be 34.
That's what I'm saying. You go get a guy
Yep.
that let them two be them. Bring in a guy that can just. This is all we need you to do right now.
Turn
but
punt.
pretty soon,
Be the number 3.
pretty soon he gonna be, and then we slide you in, and
Yeah.
I
agree. I agree with the logic. I'm
And
just telling you,
I think we
I was
both are.
responding
I
to
don't
your
believe.
comment.
I think we both agree. We don't believe Ty was the second best quarterback in.
But
Yeah.
I
if
don't
anybody
think
can have a terrible draft,
It's
the
still
Rams.
be out.
And they
Yeah,
were
they
still
could
They got
Yeah,
a
yeah,
stacked
that's
ass
favorites to
team.
win the
So
Super Bowl.
Yeah.
All right, the boys were absolutely electric today. We actually didn't get to a few topics that I really wanted to get to, so I'm so excited to be back here on this couch on Friday. Thank you guys
Yeah.
so much for watching The Arena Gridiron presented by Underdog.
whoa.